This podcast is part of the Everyday Heroes Podcast Network, the network for first responders and those who support them.
Disclaimer. All views expressed on What Makes Us Fire are solely those of the person or persons giving them. What Makes Us Fire does not represent or claim to represent any particular city or fire department, and therefore make the claim that all views and standpoints are affiliated with What Makes Us Fire and with What Makes Us Fire only. Any mention of certain fire departments or cities within the interviews are solely for informational and opinion-based dialogue. In short, if you have a problem with what's published, just say something about it and don't be a Richard.
What is up, What Makes Us Fire family? This is Josh, your host of the What Makes Us Fire podcast, founder of the What Makes Us Fire nonprofit foundation. Thank you for joining us today on this episode of the podcast. Today, I have a very, very, very good friend of mine. She has been a huge supporter since we were nothing. Her name is Toni. Her handle on her social media is Southern Girl Leo 11. Sorry, she gets pissed off at me if I forget the 11 part. Her and I actually were able to sit down next to each other in New Orleans. She invited me out to New Orleans for her birthday, and we were able to record an episode together live, in person. I wish I could do that more often. It was very intimate. It was very real. It was emotion. And she won't admit it, but I actually got her to come out of her shell a little bit more than expected. She thought she was ready, but she wasn't ready. What she shares is huge. Her process on how she got to that point, even bigger. Not to mention, there's a small little challenge that was involved. And that challenge is going to help her get better. And without saying much more, What Makes Us Fire family, please help me welcome Miss Toni, Southern Girl Leo 11.
Holy shit.
What?
We're finally recording. Jesus. It took us a long time to just start recording.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people here. Everybody, welcome to What Makes Us Fire. I look ridiculous. I'm Josh, What Makes Us Fire. Today I have Miss Southern Girl Leo 11 because she keeps getting mad at me for forgetting it. Miss Toni, she is a Leo. She is a law enforcement officer. We'll forgive her for that. However, we're in New Orleans right now. She looks like she's about to kick my ass. We're in New Orleans right now for your birthday.
Yeah.
It was your birthday weekend.
Yeah.
And a couple months ago, you invited me to come and hang out with you. And thank you.
You're welcome.
It's been a blast so far.
I really appreciate you coming.
You really appreciate me coming.
Yeah.
But
I walked right into that.
You did. So yeah, I do kind of I turn on a little bit, getting in front of the camera and everything, but really, we've actually gotten to know each other fairly well the last couple of days. I mean, we've gotten to know each other really well the last few months, but just the last couple of days, it's been really, it's cool because it's like the friendships, it wasn't this awkward meeting or anything.
No.
It was just like an automatic big hug. All right, hop in the truck, let's go get something to eat.
Exactly.
Like we literally, first time seeing each other ever, I give you like a 30-second hug and it's like, all right, let's hop in the truck, let's go find some food. That was it. It was like, there was no, oh my God, it's so good to see you. No, it was just like, all right, fuckers, let's get in, let's go eat. I'm hungry. So it was really cool finally being able to just finally meet you, like in person. You are as short as you said you are.
I told you I was short.
You are as short as you said you are. Even more so, I think.
Yeah,
Even more so.
well, it doesn't help that you're 6 foot, so.
Oh yeah, I am 6 foot even. That's true. Well, Toni, you've heard the podcast, you've listened to the podcast, you actually know about the foundation and everything else.
Yes.
You've actually been part of the What Makes Us Fire family for a minute, actually. Mm-hmm. I started following you first.
Yeah.
Full stop. I understand. Yes, I did follow a cop first, but I was looking for a lot of civil service members to kind of reach out to them and let them know what we're about, right? And this is the whole story about how I got you to come on the podcast and how we met. And obviously it was through social media. It was through TikTok. Go fucking figure, right? And you showed a lot of support through the last few months.
Because I believe in what you do.
Right. And I appreciate that. And I thank you for that. But you showed a lot of support even before we were a nonprofit.
Yeah.
You like podcasts, you're listening to podcasts. I think you hounded me a couple of times about coming on the podcast, and I said, I will get you on the podcast. And then when you invited me to New Orleans, I was just like, let's record the podcast in New Orleans.
Exactly.
And so that's what we're doing. That's why you're not seeing the regular background. That's why my guest is actually sitting right next to me. WhatMakesUsFire family, if you don't know, that's why they don't have all the fire stuff behind me. And we are in a janky ass little setup here. I have the computer running. I have the microphone sitting through a hole in a stool that is being held up with a towel, sitting on a coffee table, and we're on a couch. And this is a window back here that we had to cover because it was backlighting us so bad. It just made us look like shadows and white. Like parts of us were shadows, other parts of us were white. It didn't make any sense. So she was just like, hey, I got a blanket. We'll throw it over there. And that's what we did. So this is extremely janky setup here in New Orleans. But that's when you're in New Orleans, you make do with what you got. Easy. Yeah, it's big easy. Just make it easy, right?
Exactly.
Just make it easy. I'm not easy. I make things way too complicated sometimes.
No.
Yeah, I do. I'll fully admit that. Anyway, so yeah, we got you on. Sorry, I'm having squirrel moments. We got you on finally. Mm-hmm. And it's humbling because I know you've listened to almost every episode.
Yes.
So you kind of have a heads up on what to expect on how the conversation is going to go.
Of course.
So because you have that heads up, I'm going to try to throw you for a fucking loop. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try to trip you up a little bit.
Good luck.
Oh, I will.
Oh.
I will. I've already made you blush like 18 times already. I will trip you up.
You've made me blush once.
I made you blush more than once. She just don't want to admit it because now she's being recorded. Anyway, but yeah, so where do you come from? Okay, so that's how we always start. And that's one thing I'm not going to trip you up from. Kind of want to know where you come from. Obviously, you're from Louisiana, hence being in Louisiana.
Right. This is coming home for me. This is coming home for you? Yes.
And it's only a few hours away from where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. 2 weeks after the TikTok invasion, I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I putting myself through all this? But
you're having fun.
Well, no, it's not so much fun. It's marketing too for the nonprofit.
Well,
and meeting
Las Vegas,
people.
Yeah.
Vegas was here in New Orleans a little bit too. I mean, how many stickers did we put up on the street last night?
A lot.
A lot.
And you have me to thank for that.
Yeah. So New Orleans, Big Easy, Louisiana. You're gonna see a lot of WhatMakesUsFire stickers all over the light poles and trash cans and God knows what else.
No trespassing stickers.
No trespassing stickers. Pretty sure one ended up on a butt or two.
Some ended up as nipple pasties.
Not by any doing of our own.
No.
Just putting that out there. I did not place them. They were placed themselves by that said person. I gotta make sure that's clear.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, I gotta make sure that's clear. I don't want people to think I'm that kind of person, even though I might be a little bit. Not a
little bit.
So Louisiana's home for you, but New Orleans isn't necessarily
New Orleans is
the
my
part
second home.
of home. So where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up right outside of East Baton Rouge in Ascension Parish, a little town called Prairieville.
In where?
In Ascension Parish. Ascension Parish.
Ascension Parish.
Yes.
God, that would be hard to say while drinking. And guess what I'm drinking? So, okay, Ascension Parish. What
you might as well say East Baton Rouge.
East Baton Rouge, that works. And Baton Rouge is just red stick.
Yes. So, very French.
Very French. Yep.
So, just like me. I'm Native American, French, and Irish. So Creole.
Yeah, you're Creole. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Like Creole people have really pretty eyes. Sorry, rabbit hole. Okay, so East Baton Rouge. What was it like growing up in East Baton Rouge?
There's always something to do. It's basically big city living with a small town vibe. It was great. I loved it.
Big city living with small town vibe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and the college is right around there too. Huh?
Yeah, I lived 30 minutes from LSU campus.
So,
we could literally hear the crowd scream from my house.
Okay. So it was a very much like a college city growing up?
Oh, yeah, very much.
Did you go to LSU?
No.
Why didn't you go to LSU?
Because my mom moved us to Mississippi when I was 17, so I would have had to pay out-of-state tuition, and I couldn't afford it.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So what was growing up like in East Baton Rouge? Like, what was the family like? You got siblings or anything?
Well, I have a sister. Actually, I have multiple siblings, but I only grew up with one sister and grew up with a single mom. So
okay,
it was pretty, my mom worked all the time, and it was pretty much just me and my sister and her dad. So, yeah.
That's what you got to say about that. You're like, no, that's not all I got to say about it.
No.
But we ain't going to talk about it.
Not just yet.
Okay.
No, we can talk about it. It's just, life was good up until a certain point, and then it got complicated.
Complicated. Well, life gets complicated for a lot of people.
Yeah, but life got complicated for me when I was 10.
Life got complicated for me when I was 7. So yeah, I understand. I don't know, but I understand the whole.
Our stories are pretty similar in that aspect, except yours was the one-time event, and I lived with mine until I was 17. So
that sucks.
Yeah.
So your mother not being around working all the time, obviously, I would think you don't hold anything against her for that because she was obviously trying.
Well, it took me a very long time to forgive my mom for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
For a very long time, I hated her because of the simple fact that she just didn't see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it led to a lot of trust issues with people in general. And so, I'm still dealing with it, and I'm still working on my trust issues every day. So,
would you be willing to be specific as to what that trauma was or what you went through?
So when I was 10 years old, my sister's dad sexually assaulted me.
Okay.
And then I didn't report it for a very long time. And some friends of mine talked me into reporting it. I think I was like pretty close to 12 when I actually did report it to CPS. And it just traumatized me all over again because I had to deal with the cops and I had to deal with CPS and everything else like that. And
so at 12 years old, you took the leap to actually call yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Cops and CPS showed up at my school one day and took me out of class in front of all my friends and brought me in and interrogated me. Pretty much, they made me feel like a criminal, which is, that is exactly why I became a cop, because I never wanted any kid to go through what I did growing up.
Their tact was not very tactful.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They were on a scale of 1 to tactful. They were about 1,000,000 miles away.
Okay. So you're growing up from 10 years old. Before that,
he'd been in my life since I was 2.
Since you were 2?
Since I was 2.
Oh, okay. And the abuse didn't start until you were 10?
10.
Okay.
It's like I hit puberty and bam, there it goes.
Got you. What was it that was, or how did you, because you went through the CPS thing at 12 years old. How did you get through that afterwards? Like, what happened with that? And then, because you said it didn't stop until 17.
Right.
So what was the process of those 5 years, starting the process of letting CPS know up until the age of 17?
CPS, they did a whole investigation on it, and the only thing that happened to him was he ended up in rehab for 6 months because he blamed it on alcohol. So he was in rehab for 6 months, and for 6 months life was great, except for the simple fact that my sister blamed me for her dad not being there.
Mm-hmm.
My mom didn't know whether to believe me or not, and my dad really wasn't in my life, so I called him, and of course I'm so sorry, but that was basically it.
Well, what would you expect from somebody telling you tell them what you're going through and everything? How are they going to what would you expect from somebody to actually help you? Other than saying, I'm sorry that happened to you. What could somebody do?
Oh, he was my dad.
Right. But so what would you have expected him to do? Like get up and start beating the guy's ass?
No, I wanted him to come and get me.
Come and get you and just take you away from the situation.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So even if he did take you away from the situation, it still necessarily it was not going to change what had happened.
No, it would never change what had happened, but it would have saved me from the next 5 years.
Got you. I can understand that. So it sounds like to me, from about 10 years up until you were leaving at 17, you were dealing with a lot of abandonment.
Yeah.
A lot of abandonment issues. People just not being there, or that were there and then taking off.
Yeah.
I can understand that sentiment. It sucks. What was school like for you going through like all that stuff?
School was my escape.
Okay.
As long as I was in school, I was safe. So I enjoyed going to school up until a certain point, up until high school. And then it's like everything that was happening at home just started building up and I couldn't take it anymore. So basically I started rebelling, hanging out with the wrong people, screwing my life up big time. Ran away for like 2 weeks, multiple times. Actually attempted suicide when I was 16 twice.
Mm-hmm.
First time I tried to slit my wrists, and the second time I overdosed on pills, and never even told my mom. Like, I took half a bottle of Tylenol, and was very lucky to survive because I told nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, life was pretty rough. It only got worse. I joined the military when I was 18 because my mom moved us to Mississippi. I felt like my whole life had been turned upside down because every person that I'd been friends with, she basically ripped them away from me. My sister blamed me, so we weren't on great terms because her dad was no longer in our lives anymore. And so basically I joined the military to run away because that's what I do.
You run away from it?
I run away from my issues.
Okay. Well, I'm about to throw them right in your fucking face. Get ready. Because you can't leave. You're on a podcast.
Well, I agreed to this, so.
Yeah, and you did agree to it. So if you did start to want to run away, I would be like, yeah, you can't run away. The camera follows you everywhere.
I'm not getting off this couch.
Good. So family life seemed pretty hard, but I mean, school was your escape. So you had some pretty good outlets at school.
Yeah.
Right. What were your interests? Like, was it sports? Was it just being around people?
I'm very much an oxymoron when it comes to like the type of people that I hung out with. I was a very outgoing person when I was younger. So I pretty much had friends in every clique there was. I had friends who were football players, friends who were cheerleaders. I was actually a cheerleader in middle school. I played in band. I played softball. I rode horses. I pretty much was a very active person just to stay away from home.
Mm-hmm.
I played traveling softball. I mean, I did everything I could to not be at home. So, and I kind of still do that as an adult, but I stay busy all the time just to avoid going home.
Going home?
Yes.
Now?
Yes, even now. Home is not a safe place for me.
Because you associate it with what happened in the past?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can ask Courtney and them. I will go home and then I will spend the next hour and a half sitting in my truck talking to them on house party just to avoid going inside.
Oh, and that's not sad.
Oh, it's sad.
It's not sad. It's normal. People do it all the time. I do the same thing. You see me on live, sitting on live in my fucking driveway before going inside. Mm-hmm. It's not sad. Unless you're saying what I do is sad and I am sad.
No, you're not sad.
Okay, so there you go. If we're both doing the same thing and I'm not sad, then you can't be sad.
Okay.
Logic. Anyway, so you're going to the military. What branch did you go in the military after high school? I joined
the Army.
Army.
My grandfather didn't talk to me for 6 months because I refused to join the Marines. From the age of 2, he taught me to tell people that when I grew up, I was going to be a Marine. But when I hit 18, I grew a brain and decided to join the Army instead.
How long did you stay in?
6 years.
Oh, so you did 4 + 2. Yeah.
Well, okay. With my MOS, I was military police. It's an automatic 6-year enlistment. So.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
so you didn't just so you were MP, but you weren't civilian MP, because a lot of bases will hire civilian MPs.
I was stationed overseas in Europe, so we actually did police work in Europe and not guard duty at the front gate. So
you were actually
a cop.
MP.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew from the time that I was 11 that I wanted to be a cop.
I'm sorry.
How old were you when you decided you wanted to be a fireman?
22.
Mm-hmm. But you love your job, right?
Yeah, but it was an accident. I fell into it.
But you're meant for it.
I guess.
I knew the reason why I knew at 11 that I wanted to be a cop was because I never wanted any kid to go through what I went through. And I'm very proactive when it comes to crimes that involve children.
You think that's, I'm not, you think, obviously you're attributing that to your past.
Yes, very much so.
And we're going to get to that because I have a theory here that I want to run by you that I want you to think about.
I like theories.
Because you know how I do that with a lot of my guests. I'll run a theory by them and they're just like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And I'm like, well, it's because I like to play devil's advocate and I like to give an outside point of view. As long as you're open to it and hearing it, not saying it's true, not saying it's not, just maybe.
I'm very open to hear what you have to say, but I also feel like that I probably already thought about it since we both have the same thought process on a lot of things.
A lot of people say that about me. Oh, I never, I don't know. I thought, wait, what? We'll see. We'll see. So remember that you became a cop because you wanted to help children not go the same route that you went through, right? That's in general is what we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. Remember that.
Okay.
Because we're going to come back to that. So you're an MP, 6 years.
Yes.
You got in at 18. So that means at 24, you're done with military.
Yes. It's too political at that point, and it just wasn't the same as when I first enlisted. So
what did you do out coming out?
Coming out, I was very self-conscious about being a cop, and I didn't know that if it was something that I wanted to do right away. So I did a lot of odd jobs between the time that I got out of the military and the time I actually became a cop. A lot of security jobs. I worked a couple gas stations, worked a bait shop at one point, and then I moved around.
In Louisiana? You came back to Louisiana to do all this?
No.
Okay, in Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Okay.
But I actually didn't stay in Mississippi very long because I've lived in quite a few states since then, because I didn't think that I wanted to live in Mississippi, and I actually still don't want to live in Mississippi.
Who does?
People who've lived there all their lives and never went anywhere besides Mississippi.
I could see that. I can see that.
There's more than I thought. But I mean, I've gotten to the point where I've become used to Mississippi, and I've actually made friends. I found that as I got older, it was a lot harder for me to make friends. My sister had it easier when we moved because she was still in school and I'd already got my GED. So I wasn't in school when we moved there.
So you didn't graduate high school. You just went and got your GED?
Yes.
Okay. And then you went to the military?
Yes.
Come out, work odd jobs.
Mm-hmm. And then I, realized that my dreams were never going to come true if I just didn't.
And so would you say you kept that dream then?
Most definitely.
Even with being unsure that you wanted to directly go for it coming out of the military, you still kept that dream of
it wasn't
at some point going to get
it. Wasn't the fact that I was unsure that I wanted to go for it. I just didn't think that I was good enough to do it.
But you're good enough to do it in the military.
Yeah, but the military is different.
Yes and no. Not when it comes to MP. So there's certain MOSs that obviously are completely different. You're not going to be infantry when you come back home, right? Duh. Yeah. I mean, you can be, but you look at it a little strange going into Gen Pot. So, but as MP, I get that you're a police officer and you're actually policing your fellow servicemen and women.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. I get that.
But it's harder actually being a cop in the military than it is in civilian world. But
at the same time, when you're a civilian cop, you're policing other civilians. Mm-hmm. So how different can it really be?
Quite different.
Okay.
So here's the thing, like being an MP was great, but it is quite different because you were literally basically I look at it as a security guard, and most police departments look at it the same way. So even though like I went through basic training and military police school, which military police academy is actually training wise is 1,000 times better than going through the police academy. I took all the same fucking classes. Can we cuss?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
fucking cuss. We can fucking shit, fuck.
I took all the fucking same classes through military police school that I did in the police academy. Actually, when I went through the police academy, I didn't study one time for any test because I knew pretty much everything that we were doing. The only thing that I was looking forward to was the gang class because I knew things had changed since I went through the police academy. I mean, the military police school in '99.
Oh yeah, gangs definitely changed from '99 to the early 2000s.
Yeah. So, and
Not as hard anymore.
well, you'd be surprised.
Oh, they're a lot more organized. But
Yeah.
they're not as. I've noticed it's not as brutal. They're more organized now.
Yeah. You know, back then the gangs were a hell of a lot more brutal. And I mean, even growing up in Louisiana, gangs were very prevalent in the area that I grew up in.
Mhm.
Most of the guys that I dated as a kid were in gangs. I actually dated a guy who was a family member of the Gambinos, which is the Italian mafia.
Mhm.
So, you know, gangs were very prevalent where I grew up at. You couldn't escape it.
Mhm. So you were interested in taking all these classes and everything, and it feels like you're a security guard as an MP, right? Because
Yeah.
you're limited to the base that you're on.
Well, the base and the off-base housing. So
Right. So
you're
like
limited to American soldiers. That is
in American
it.
soil,
Yes.
whether
Certificate.
you're in another country or not.
Right.
People don't understand that U.S. Embassy is actually in another country.
Are American soil.
Technically American.
So are
soil.
military bases.
So our military bases, correct. So you come out, you're not sure. How long does it take you to finally make that decision? From 24, you're out of
I
the
didn't go
military.
through the police academy, through the full-time police academy until 2015.
How old would that have made you?
34.
So it took you 10 years to make the decision to
It didn't
finally...
take me 10 years to make the decision. It actually took me that long to actually get hired.
Okay. Wow. That long to get hired?
Yeah. So I was originally applying for one police department and one police department only because it was in the town that I lived in and I didn't really want to commute to work.
Right.
I knew half of the department there. I was friends with the majority of them. So it always made sense to me that I should work for that department. And I'm very stubborn, and stupid sometimes because of that stubbornness. Had I actually applied for outside departments, like I'd eventually worked up to doing, then I probably would have been in law enforcement a hell of a lot sooner.
So for 10 years, we're trying to... How did you keep that certification? Because we all know now, right, as a police officer or and as a firefighter, anybody really in the civil service, you have to have some type of entity hold your license, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Mississippi doesn't recognize the Military Police Academy as a certification.
So you didn't even have your certification coming out. You didn't have your police officer certification.
No.
Oh, okay.
So I had to go through the whole thing all over again. I mean, at 34, that's pretty damn hard, especially considering I was having health issues and didn't even know it. So, I mean, I actually went through the police academy with a tumor the size of a fucking cantaloupe and didn't realize it until about 2 years later.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Benign?
Very much so, thank God.
Yeah, thank God. So your stubbornness definitely played a part into your
Wanting to
timeline of becoming a police officer.
Yeah, because each time that I applied for this department, I was always in the top 3 that were being considered for employment. And what the problem is I didn't realize I had a tumor and it fucked up my hormones and then it made me gain weight. So their whole reasoning, and I found this out like 2 years ago, their whole reasoning for never hiring me is they didn't think I would make it through the academy.
And that's, I mean, they have the right to do that.
Oh, of course they do. But
then it felt really good when you shut them up and made it through the academy.
I mean, it didn't, it never even occurred to me to make it feel good, because by the time that I went through the academy, I just was over them and I decided to apply for a different department. And, I did it for me. I didn't do it for anybody else.
Right. And and as you should, right? That anytime you decide to dedicate your life to something that you really find yourself wanting that to be your purpose, you should do it just for you, not to prove anybody else wrong, not to say, hey, look what I can do, look what you can't do.
Right.
It's just, this is what I really truly feel like I want to do. So I'm just going to do it. Now, because you didn't give me the chance doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying to do it.
Exactly. I mean, just because one department doesn't give me the chance doesn't mean another one.
What was the flip? What was the flip of you finally saying, you know what, I'm not going to be so stubborn anymore. Let me go check out this other department over here.
My cousin told me to apply for the department that I actually work for now.
Okay.
And they actually hired me part-time. So I worked there for a year part-time, and that's when I realized maybe I should try other departments than the one that I'm trying to get on, because the department that I was trying to get on, they only took applications once a year. So once a year, I would go up there and I would take a 2-hour-long test. I would take a PT test and then wait a couple weeks miserably waiting for them to get back to me and tell me that I was not being hired. Every single time I was passed up for a male. So, yeah. And it kind of sucked because, the guys that they were hiring had zero experience. I already had 6 years experience in law enforcement, even if it was military police law enforcement. And I felt like that I was getting the short end of the stick because I had a shit ton to offer and they just weren't taking me up for it. So, and what makes it even worse is I had family in that department too. My cousin was the assistant chief. But I always told them I don't want to get hired because of having family in the department.
Right. Yeah. You got to keep nepotism out of it.
Right. Well, if I'm going to get hired, it's because they see that I can bring a lot to the table
or that you can do the job.
Yeah.
Just as well as, if not better than.
Yeah. And it being female, it makes it even harder.
So I'm going to give you a different perspective here. I'm not saying you're right or wrong. Yes. Let's talk pure physicalities. Just on the physicalities aspect of it. Science. Still science.
Okay.
Males do have denser muscles.
Yes.
They are faster and stronger.
Almost sure.
I'm not going to say 100% of the time, but a very large percent of the time. Just by pure science and physicality, right?
It's just
the way, genetics. It's genetics. It's the way nature made.
And I can't disagree with you on that.
Now, when it comes to logic and problem solving and using your brain,
women are better.
I'm not going to say that. Oh no.
Hold on. You want me to go get it?
I got it.
Here.
Hold that thought. Because when it comes to that stuff, the whole problem solving and can you do the job and situational awareness, if we put you in this situation, will you be able to handle it this way, that way, whatever. Scientifically here, men think differently than women.
Of course.
Men tend to react a little bit faster than women do when it comes to high stress situations. This is science. I'm not saying all the time. Okay. Science shows that men tend to react quicker on a high stress situation where women try to do what they always do, figure out the best route before making the decision. Even on high stress stuff, they'll take that extra half second to make sure that the decision that they're going to make is going to be the right one, which probably is safer.
That depends on the woman though.
Again, we're talking general science. Okay. General science. Yes, you are right. Depends on the woman, because there could be women that can make split decisions that are 10 times better than anybody else's decision. But in general, men make split decisions faster. Not saying right decisions.
No.
I'm saying split decisions. They react a little bit quicker.
I have worked in the men's profession since I was 18. So yes, I understand that is not always right.
No, it's not always right. Just they react quicker. That's all I'm saying.
They tend to, yes.
Yes, the reaction's quicker.
But it depends.
Not always the right reaction.
It also depends on the female that you're talking about too.
Correct. Again, those are the anomalies based on the generality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not talking the anomalies. I'm talking in general.
Yes.
So what's happening, in my opinion, and what I'm seeing is what's happening when it comes to stuff like that, where departments are hiring this person over that person because male or female, those ideas tend to be stuck.
Yes.
Right. They can't get rid of the fact because they're making the choice on a generality and not on the exception to the rule.
Exactly.
Which you should be hiring the exception to the rule, because the exception to the rule is going to be the one better for the job.
Right.
Because they're an exception to the rule.
Exactly.
Also, though, however, and this is me speaking candidly with you, a lot of departments actually have affirmative action. And that includes gender-based affirmative action. Again, I understand. I know it's a touchy subject. However,
I hate affirmative action.
So do I. However, when it comes to a female or a minority in any case, getting hired onto a specific place, if affirmative action's in place, it doesn't really matter if you're better or not, because they have to meet a quota.
Right.
Right?
Doesn't make you feel good about yourself, though.
Doesn't it? I don't get it, right? I don't fucking get it.
Honestly, when affirmative action was first started, it was a really good thing. It was meant for minorities and females, because minorities and females were looked down upon.
Well, when it first started,
but
yes.
I think we've outgrown it.
Yeah, well, when it first started, it was because we were passing up the better candidate because of the minority that they were associated with. Or they were just... That's why it was created, so that wouldn't happen anymore. However,
I totally think we've outgrown it.
I think we've outgrown it, because now what we're doing is we're passing up the better candidate to meet the quota.
Right.
It's flip-flop.
Yeah.
It started off, let's not pass up the better candidate because of who they are.
Right.
Now we're passing up the better candidate because they're not the minority.
Right.
And it's done this flip-flop, and it's actually made it's hurting.
Yes, it's hurting a lot of departments. Firing
and fires as well. Yep. And fire departments now are even scared to have physical assessments. And I know some police departments are even changing physical assessments for the gender or for the race, right? Because
I tell you who isn't. The state of Alabama.
Good. I agree with that. I think when you're going to come into these kind of jobs, you are expected to do the same thing that the person next to you is going to be doing.
Right. Because if I can't trust you to do what I'm going to do, then I don't need you having my back.
Exactly. Right. So
which is why I'm not a fireman, because I know for a fact that I could not go in and pull some of the people out of the house.
Well,
and I'm scared of heights.
They teach you. There's different ways of dragging and carrying and all that other stuff. You might not be as big or as strong, but there's mechanics. Anyway, we're getting into a rabbit hole here.
Right.
The point is if you're open to learning how, there's a way to do it. So that's why I always say, like, I don't give a crap. I don't give a fuck who you are. What you look like, tall, short, skinny, big, strong, doesn't fucking matter. If you can do the job just as good as, if not better than me,
then we can work together all day. Right.
But if you're gonna give me this bullshit that, well, I'm this or I'm that, so I shouldn't have to do this or do that.
So I don't think that I should have to.
Yeah. Well, why do I have to do 10 pull-ups when I'm a female? I should only have to do 5. Well, because everybody that does this job has to do 10 pull-ups.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. When I was going through the academy, me and my roommates, so I've always had an issue with running. Again, I've always been short my entire freaking life.
Yeah, running you're probably going to have to take 3 more extra steps for every person that takes 1.
The only time that I am faster than normal people is when I have an anxiety attack and when I'm like the fucking flash.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Because again, I tend to run away because I can't breathe.
Right.
So, No, when I graduated from the academy, I ran my 1.5 miles in like 14 minutes and 30 seconds, which to me wasn't good enough. I maxed out my push-ups. I did 101. I didn't max out my sit-ups, but you know what? It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a PT stud, but you know, I worked my ass off because it'd been years since I'd actually done this.
10 years.
Yes.
Yeah, 10 years.
I didn't prepare for
crazy.
the academy.
Right.
I didn't go out and run like everybody else, but I know how I function. I know how my body functions. And me going out and preparing wasn't going to fucking help me get any better than just go in there and fucking doing it.
Right. Well, that's not true, but I get what you're saying.
No, because I would not have the motivation before, but once I get into the academy and I know that me staying there fucking depends on me actually doing the fucking work, then yeah, I was motivated enough to do it. I just wasn't motivated enough to do it before.
You needed a catalyst.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Always.
Gotcha. That I can understand. So you got hired onto the part-time. We got into a rabbit hole there on that.
Yeah.
One.
Well,
I apologize.
we're both squirrel.
Yeah. You got hired on to this part-time position, and it kind of opened your eyes to, all right, maybe I don't need to be so bullheaded in just this one department. Let me start looking somewhere else.
Yes.
How long after that did it take for you to finally? Okay. Oh shit! There you go. 1 year. So
actually, it wasn't even a full year.
Wasn't even a full year.
It was.
But you found a full-time
months.
department.
I found. So.
Don't use specific department names.
I'm not, because I don't use specific department names on my own TikTok or anything, because I don't want people to know where I work. So the department that I was working part-time for was under a different administration then, and they had a full-time position coming up, and I was actually going through the part-time academy at that point. And I went and talked to my supervisor about applying for the full-time position, because I hated the part-time position because they wouldn't let me do anything. All I did was patrol up and down a walking path in downtown areas and check businesses. And that sucked. That is not what I wanted to do. So in order to supplement working part-time at the police department, I also worked full-time at 911. I pretty much, the only thing
as a dispatcher?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The only thing I haven't done in the first responder world is be an EMT. So, I talked to them about the full-time position, and they told me that I couldn't apply for it because they were sending me through the part-time academy. Well, the chief at the police department where I was going through the part-time academy had talked to me and the other officer that was at that department about coming over there full-time. And he told me exactly what I needed to do. And that happened on a Friday when I talked to my supervisor. That Monday, I went and took my work keys test, which is a test that you have to take in Mississippi for a lot of newer jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Passed it, flying colors, and then turned in my application that day. 3 months I was hired. I got hired in December of 2015.
So you've been working full-time for about 5 years now?
Yes.
After being an MP at 18?
Yes. I also work construction. Construction. I also work corrections.
Corrections.
Yes, I was a certified correctional officer at a state prison in Mississippi.
Okay. So all this time of being just outside that realm, like it's just right there. Mm-hmm. It's always just right there.
Without of reach, just by
an inch. Mm-hmm. You're doing all these other things that are associated with it. You're even doing it part-time. Mm-hmm. Finally, 5 years ago, you get on a full-time department.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, it was the most amazing day ever.
Talk about tenacity and not giving up.
Oh, again, stubborn.
Like, how many people would wait 10, 12 years and work and continue to work to try to get that full-time position on the job that they feel like they were meant to do?
Oh, and I mean, we didn't even get into the fact that I moved to like 4 other states.
Just to try to get it done.
No, it wasn't. It was me running away from the state of Mississippi, trying to figure out where I wanted to live. And I moved to California. I've lived in Las Vegas. I lived in New Jersey. I've lived in Florida.
Everywhere but the Midwest.
Yeah, pretty much. The only, I have lived in if you count all the states that I've lived in, so I've grew up in Louisiana, I've lived in Germany, lived in California, Las Vegas, Florida, New Jersey. Yeah, so 6 different places. When I was actually, when I was in California, I was in the National Guard at the time.
Reserve?
National Guard, not Reserve.
I know you're in the National Guard. There is Reserve National Guard.
Yeah, but the Reserves is different. It is the Reserves is still federal, where the National Guard is state.
Right, but the state National Guard, you can be a Reserve National Guard for the state.
Yeah, but I wasn't a Reserve National Guard.
So you were actually like National Guard.
Yes,
okay.
I was the nasty guard.
So you
I was active duty.
So you got out of military and went into the state military.
Yeah, I was.
Lack of a better term.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. It's
Right.
just state run. It's state funding. That's all. Basically, the only difference is we had lower budget.
Okay.
So I was in the California National Guard for a while.
It sounds to me you had a fixation with having to wear a uniform.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look, I don't have to wake up and decide what I have to wear to work in the morning. It's great. It makes my life so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and being a female, we're very indecisive about what we wear.
Right. Well, okay. So I want to. It's a little bit interesting to hear your story because you were pushing for this career based on what happened to you in your past,
yes.
right? Because you want to be this change, you want to be something different. However, things got
off track,
right?
It was more so because I doubted myself.
And that's fine. People doubt themselves all the time, right? When people have this idea of what their true purpose is their entire life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as life happens, new possibilities get brought up to us all the time. New potential ideas, new potential this, new potential that. And then it makes us question, well, this thing that I've always wanted to do, is it really now all I want to do? Because now I'm getting...
It was never the question of, is it really what I want to do? It was a question that the question that was always weighing in the back of my mind is, am I good enough?
Well, yeah, but if you weren't good enough for that, how would you have been good enough for anything else? You would continue questioning yourself. Am I good enough to even be doing this? Am I good enough to even be doing that? Am I good enough to even be doing this?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So.
But, insecurities and doubts are a bitch.
They are. Insecurities and doubts are a bitch. But sooner or later, you got to make that decision on whether or not you're going to give up
and
or
I
you're
did.
going to move on.
I did eventually. But, it took me longer than normal because, again, fucking stubborn.
Right. But your stubbornness... It was a double-edged sword because your stubbornness was not letting you give up, but it was also telling you, hey, you might not be good enough.
Right.
So your stubbornness was fighting itself in that,
yes,
no, I'm not going to give this up, but are you good enough to not give this up?
Right. Exactly.
And people are hearing this right now going, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Whatsoever.
It doesn't make any sense because look, we know and we feel in our heart of hearts that we're good enough to do this thing that we are so passionate about.
But it's like the closer you get to it, the more scared you get.
Right. Because now you're like, I was so passionate about it. You don't want to mess it up. You want to be this good thing on it.
Right.
And you're like, one little trip, one little slip up,
and
one
your
little
life
mistake.
Is over.
And no, your life's not over. It feels like your life is over.
Well, I mean, the way I looked at it was this. Okay. So from the time that I turned 18, pretty much almost every job that I ever worked was leading me to the career that I have today.
Mm-hmm.
So in reality, the only thing that I am qualified to do besides police work is be a bartender. Because that is the only job outside of security, corrections, any dispatch, fire, anything that I've done that isn't first responder involved. So that doesn't leave me a lot of options for if this doesn't work out for me because I am qualified in nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but you could figure out something.
Oh, yeah, because I'm, stubborn again.
Yeah, but then you're going to go through that whole process again.
Nah.
Am I good enough for this now?
No. Because at the end of the day, once I was able to finally get the job, then I realized I know this job better than half of the people at my department.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, shit. You've been fucking working it for 15 years, 16 years?
A lot longer.
Well, 18 to...
I am 40.
Oh, shit, 20-something years, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so you've been in the realm.
Yes.
For
Right.
22 years now.
Yes. And to think, if you really think about it, it's been longer because I grew up in a military family.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was law enforcement. I have cousins who are judges. I grew up in a very large law enforcement and military family.
Okay. So you've always been surrounded by it.
Yes, always.
Well,
Up until the time that my dad passed away a few years ago, he was a sheriff's deputy in Mississippi. So yeah, I've always been around it.
Oh, damn. Yeah. So you knew it was something you were going to do since you were a kid.
My mom says that she knew that I was going to be a cop since the age of 2.
And that's why you said 2 earlier on.
Mm-hmm. Because the first time that I ever laid eyes on a cop was when I was 2. Of course, back in the 80s, they didn't have car seats and crap like that. So, like, I was standing up, and the next thing you know, my mom says, "Look at that." I told her, "Look at the pretty blue lights." She was getting put over by a cop.
That's funny.
The pretty blue lights are still one of my favorite parts.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for taking us through that process, right? So, holy fuck. From 10 years old
Mm-hmm.
to about 12 years old, you were going through this abusive part of your life that was happening to you and your family.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I'm not telling my mom to listen to this because a lot of this she doesn't know still.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm just letting you know now.
That's fine. I mean, you don't have to tell her to listen to this. It's up to you. So, from 12 years old, you start the process of trying to get that to change.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really happens.
Not a damn thing.
So you find another way to get out, the military.
Mm-hmm.
You go into the military, 6 years, MP, come out, not entirely sure how to go about obtaining that dream job. So you do a little bit of everything.
Yes.
Right? National Guard. You're still in the realm.
Yes.
But it's just not quite that thing.
Right.
Finally, when 10 years later,
mm-hmm.
you get the dream job.
Yes.
And since then, you've just been
working
your ass off doing the job now.
Yes.
I'm going to assume that during that time, away from the trauma that you dealt with as a child and then as an adolescent, you've been exposed to some pretty
horrific shit.
Oh, yeah. Right? Not only on the MP base, not only on the military base as an MP.
Yeah.
But as a correctional officer,
mm-hmm.
National Guard.
Yes.
Part-time police officer.
First 3 months within working corrections, I ended up having to pull a guy who was trying to hang himself down from a freaking wall. So yeah, I've seen some pretty horrific shit.
Mm-hmm. And I guess my question is, knowing what you've been through and seeing this stuff, now we're going to job-related stress, right?
Yeah.
What can you say attributed to your strength of not turning away from it? Because obviously, right, we have this idea of what being a first responder or a civil service member is, right? Nowadays, it's becoming more prevalent. It's no longer this glorified thing now because we know what we're going to be seeing. Like
right.
It's told to us, and it's very,
on a daily basis.
Yeah, and it's very, 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 very prevalent now. What people are talking about. No, this is not all sunshine and rainbows, y'all. It's a real job, life and death, literally every fucking day. And not only life and death for us, but we're seeing other people's lives, and we're seeing other people die as well. So it's more than just a life and death thing for us. It's a life and death thing for other people that we are constantly exposed to. But during that process, it didn't deter you from continuing to do it. What would you attribute that strength to not be deterred from?
Because I'm stubborn.
Just your straight stubbornness.
Oh yeah, because again, I've worked my entire life to get to where I am.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of days where I wake up and I'm like, I fucking hate my job. I hate the department I'm working for. I could just quit tomorrow. And then I think about everything that I went through to actually get to where I'm at, and is literally just pure stubbornness that keeps me in this job. Because it sure as hell is not the love for the job on an everyday basis.
No, but not on every level, right?
Right.
And that's something else too. People always think, well, if you love the job that you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. Well,
That's
I love
not
the job. I love the job that I'm doing,
But
but there's parts of the job that I don't like doing
right.
because it's still a job.
Mm-hmm.
If I can do what I was doing and not have to be exposed to or deal with or work a certain way with those parts of the job,
Oh, it'd be so much better.
right? If we can only do the fun parts, or if we can only do the if it was only just bust,
the fun parts would happen.
If it was only just bust, if it was only just fires where we saved everybody and we saved the structure, if it was only this, if it was only that, yeah, job would be fucking phenomenal.
Oh, I would not be near as fucking stressed all the time or dealing with fucking mental health issues all the fucking time.
So, but people hear us say that this is the best job in the world because it is. It is the best job in the world.
I love it.
Yeah, we love it to death, but we also hate it with passion at the same time. Right?
Yes, just as much.
Because there's parts of the job
that are miserable.
And it's okay that they're miserable, but we accept those miserable parts of the job because we love the totality of the job. Everything that's included. Good and bad.
Right. I'll give you, for instance, okay, so about a month ago, we get a call to a guy overdosing on narcotics.
Mm-hmm.
Get out there. At first, he's fine. And then he goes completely psychotic. And when I mean, this dude, he tested positive for meth. He tested positive for spice. He was off his fucking rocker. And again, I am pushing 5'4", pushing on a good day. I am 5'4".
Mm-hmm.
Like if you measure me, I'm actually 5'4".
With your tactical boots on, gotcha.
No, that's barefooted.
Okay.
Tactical boots, I'm 5'5".
Sure.
But I'm 5'4" on a good day.
Okay.
And there was 5 of us out there, and between the 5 of us, we could barely get him strapped down onto the gurney to get him to the fucking hospital. He was that psychotic. Get to the fucking hospital. They're using the fucking leather restraints at the hospital because we couldn't keep him handcuffed. And he broke a brand new leather restraint.
Mm-hmm. That's what we call that meth strength, right? So whenever they're on meth or they're coked out or whatever, they become the Incredible Hulk.
Oh yeah,
it's weird. It's so weird. I mean, there's look on YouTube. You can find them. Like people will be tased and just be like, "I'm still coming after you," and it's like there's videos where the guy would be shot 3 or 4 times and he's still running at you like he wasn't even shot, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah. So here's the thing. You know, you got this guy who's fucking going out of his gourd,
yeah.
Right. And of course I got joked about this for the next 3 weeks. But as a female, I know there are specific things that you can do to calm people down. Most people in general, when they're fucking scared, when they're high as hell, they tend to revert back to the childhood stage as far as, certain things will calm them down. A mother always calms their child down. Always.
More often than not.
Yes. So I'm sitting there with this crazy ass person. I don't fucking know who he is. He's already tried to spit in my face multiple times. And start stroking his head on top of his shoulders. Don't go there. I already know that look. I have known you long enough to know that look. Stop it. I started rubbing the hair on his head above his shoulders. Stop. But he calmed down.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, his blood pressure dropped. Of course, my lieutenant says that I have a new boyfriend. But he stopped fighting us. We were able to knock him out. And he didn't die.
Yeah.
Because he was on the verge of having a damn heart attack.
Yeah. They usually are.
But, I mean, that part of the job is what makes it worth it, honestly. Helping a mom when her kid is missing. I'm not the most empathetic person on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is I'm very rational when I need to, and I can keep a calm and cool head even in the most fucking stressful situations. I've been shot at multiple times. And it's like the more stressful the situation, the more calm and collected I get.
I think that's due to a lot of the way we're trained, right?
Mhm.
And it's a benefit for the job, but a little bit of a detriment when it comes to home life, right?
Oh, don't even get me started.
Oh, but I mean, seriously,
Oh.
it's a benefit on the job, right?
It is great on the job,
because
and
we're able to handle the stress of the job in the way that needs to be handled
Mhm.
in a calm, collective way. But when we get home and either the spouse or something's not done, we're just like, oh, whatever. But then everybody else is like, what do you mean, whatever? This is a big issue. And you're like, bitch, you just got shot at. This ain't a big fucking bit. No, this
Yeah.
is not a big issue.
right.
But we forget
Mhm.
they ain't doing what we're doing.
Right.
And so,
And I have to
what
remind
you were
myself.
talking about, the empathy part, we forget that there's two different types of empathy.
Right.
There's empathy that we have to have for the job,
Mhm.
and there's empathy that we have to have for home.
Yeah.
And finding that balance is hard to do,
Oh, extremely hard.
right? Because we literally rewired our brains to do the job.
Mhm.
We rewired our brains to do the job. We learned how to deal with the high stress situations for the job. So when we come home and there is a high stress situation, we forget that the people at home, friends, family, brothers, it doesn't matter who they are, if they're not in that and they don't understand it,
Right.
they see us as being cold, callous, and not give a fuck. And it's like, no, it's just we don't think
Oh, I
it's
get
that
told
big
that
of
all
an
the
issue.
time.
We just think it's not that big of a fucking issue, you know? Like,
I try not to stress over things.
right. But we stress over other things
Right.
that people don't understand
Yes.
because they're like, well, again, they're not in the job. They don't understand how, like, so it becomes this loop. It becomes this fucking loop that it's so hard for, like, why is the way I handle stress on the job not working for the way I handle stress at home? Why is that not correlating? Why does it not work outside the job? Well, because it's not the fucking job.
Right. It's completely different.
Correct. And now, are there things that we can carry over from one to the other? Yes.
Yes.
Should we be doing that?
No.
Fuck yes. No. Yes, we should. The reason being why we should is because if we don't, we're going to lose one or the other.
Mhm.
And if you lose one or the other, you're going to get stuck in this loop. You're going to get stuck in this idea that you're going to always be right.
Yeah. Well, my friends and family tell me I should turn off the cop all the time.
They're not wrong. For them, they're not wrong. You think it's working for you,
It's not.
but it causes a whole lot of home life stress now because you can't turn off the cop.
Mhm.
But at the same time, there's some of us that can't turn off the home person when we go to the job. And it's like, hey, get out of your head. We need you here right now. We need you here in this situation. So it can be a detriment both ways.
Oh, trust me. There's been plenty of times where I've gone to work and just can't fucking drop the stress of what is going on at home, and it has literally caused me to have panic attacks as I'm headed to a call and I have to call off going to that call and helping whoever I was supposed to be helping because I'm literally can't breathe, can't drive, can't do anything.
I'm gonna challenge your thinking on the whole. I can't help the person I'm supposed to be helping. I will challenge to say, and I would even say that you actually helped them by not going. Because had you gone, not in the right state of mind, you could have been more detrimental to the situation, right?
Mhm.
You could have been more of a liability in that situation. You could have made the situation worse by not allowing yourself and having the wherewithal to say, hey, I'm not in the right frame of mind to go do this right now. Let me cool back, right? It's that whole, it's the same thing with baseline mental health. If you're not 100% good for yourself, how the hell are you going to be 100% good for anybody else?
You're not.
Right. But you had the wherewithal to say, hey, I can't go because I can't do that right now. If you went, you could have been a detriment. You wouldn't have been on top of your game. You're seeing safety. Your situational awareness is blocked, right? Things could have turned bad because you missed something because you're in your head about something else.
Mm-hmm.
You're not 100% there. You had the wherewithal to do that. So I'm going to say you didn't not help them. I'm going to say you did help them by having the wherewithal within yourself to say, I'm not in the best place to help them.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually did a benefit and not a detriment. It feels like a detriment because you're like, well, shit, I should have been there. That's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
But your job is to make sure you don't make the situation worse.
Right.
That's part of your job as well.
Oh, very much so.
So if you kept yourself from making the situation worse, then you did your job.
Mm-hmm.
You did your job by not going.
I see what you're saying there.
That it sounds weird, right?
Nope, not at all.
Like some of us are going to be like, some people are going to hear this and be like, no, you suck it up and you go. Well, if you suck it up and you go, but you still have this thing in the back of your head, are you going to be fully aware of the situation that you're going to?
Never.
Right?
Especially me, because again, I'm a squirrel. So.
So that's why I want to challenge your thinking on that, because it's like, yes, it feels like you didn't go and help and do the job that you were called out there to do.
At the end of the day, it feels like I let whoever I was supposed to be helping down.
But you didn't.
Point. I realize that, but at the same time, it's just very hard to convince yourself of that at the same time. In that time frame.
In that point in time, in that mindset, yes, it's hard to convince yourself, right? Because we're in job mindset.
Mm-hmm.
We're not on a balanced mindset.
Right. And job mindset is very unbalanced.
Extremely unbalanced. It's one-sided.
Oh, very much so.
Home life is one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying, having that balance, which on that call that you were talking about, you found that balance.
Mm-hmm.
You allowed yourself to not let your ego of doing the job make the decision for you and still go and potentially make the situation worse because of where you were at.
Yeah.
So you did the right thing.
You would hope.
No, you did. You did.
Well, I mean, according to you, but administration.
Administration, and that's something that we need to talk about, right? Because administration needs to be more aware of the soldiers on the front line
mm-hmm.
and where they're at. Because if the soldiers on the front line aren't good 100%, but they're making the right decision
mm-hmm.
by not going to the call, that's the right decision. Hey, administration, had I went, I wasn't in the right frame of mind. I could have made the situation could have been worse.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did y'all a benefit by not going because I might have reacted a certain way or done something out of line. I took myself out of the situation because I had the wherewithal to know that it could have turned out worse had I gone.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the kind of things that we need to start talking about with the higher ups. It's like, hey, it's not all about being able to run, to shoot, to carry, it's more than just the physical aspect of the health part of the job. The mental health aspect of the job is, I would venture to say, even more important, because if you're not on your game with your mental health,
mm-hmm.
you can potentially make the situation worse.
Yeah, you could do more harm than good.
Exactly. During this time, you've been full-time for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen a lot of shit through your career.
Yes.
Has there ever been any point in time, minus your stubbornness, take your stubbornness out of this, has there ever been a point in time where you thought
that I wanted to get out?
Maybe you need to get out because this is affecting you a little bit more than you thought it would?
Yes.
But your stubbornness kept you in it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. But you have had that thought process, right?
Oh, a lot.
A lot.
More so here lately than any time. Yeah.
Was it due to the stress of the job, or was it due to not being able to handle the stress of life in general, including the job? What do you think that attributes to?
So I worked at my first department for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going on 6 years in full-time law enforcement. They kind of threw me under the bus, and for a very short amount of time, I thought, why the hell am I doing this to myself? Why do I put myself through this fucking stress, through the fucking pain and anguish and everything else? I'm already dealing with everything because of everything that happened to me when I was a kid, because I had totally not fucking gotten over that. Why the fuck do I do this to myself every day? Because they don't pay enough. I feel like most days I'm barely making it by when it comes to life itself. So for a very short amount of time, I thought about getting out. And then I remembered not everybody is made to do this job. And one thing I can say is, as much of a pain in the ass as administrations can be, I don't have to see them on a daily basis. If I don't want to fucking see administration, I don't have to. I go out there, I fucking do my job, I help people. And at the end of the day, that's really all that fucking matters. Because I can go into any gas station, any fucking restaurant in the town that I used to work in, and I will always run into somebody that I fucking helped. I went into a Waffle House one morning. The lady that was working, and she was waitressing there, her kid went missing for 6 hours. No clue where the hell the kid was. I stayed with her the entire fucking time until we found the kid. Never left her fucking side. Brought her out of a straight panic attack. And I mean, how often is it that you get to say you've helped someone like that?
Not very often.
Right.
Unless you're in the...
And the thing is it's been like 3 years later when I ran into her freaking working at Waffle House, and she's fucking still remembered me. And the first thing that she did was come up to me, hug my neck, and saying that she didn't know what she would have done if I hadn't been there.
And that kind of makes it worth it.
Every fucking day of the week.
It's that one thing, right?
Just the one thing. It outweighs 50 billion bad things. Every single day of the week.
I want to backtrack a little bit, because as you started telling this story, you said you were still working on the stuff that happened to you as a child.
Yeah.
When or if have you thought about taking the time for yourself to work on that?
I've never thought about taking the time myself. Basically, what I did growing up, I just pushed it away. And then once we were finally away from him, I didn't have to think about him anymore. I didn't have to fucking protect myself, be on guard 24/7. Just, yeah, well, not in that way.
Right.
So.
But you do recognize that you've been affected by it.
Oh.
And you're continuing
very
to be
much
affected
so.
by it, right?
My
it continues to affect you.
Fucked up. Yeah.
Obviously it's still affecting you, even though it's not happening anymore.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
The action's no longer happening.
Yes.
You're not going through that situation anymore.
No.
But the emotion that you tied to it and how you feel about yourself,
it's always been there.
It's always there. So my question is, why do you think you are not taking the time to go take care of that? Life.
Oh, yeah.
But this is part of your life.
Yes, but there's so many other aspects of my life that just take too much time.
Now, do they take time because you're allowing them to take time?
Oh, yeah. Very much so, because I don't want to deal with the pain and the trauma.
Do you think being able to deal with that pain and the trauma and not let it affect you would actually help you become a better, not only police officer, but a person?
It's a possibility.
Possibility?
It's a possibility.
Do you think it's a very likely possibility?
Yeah.
So if it's affecting you, and it's obviously still affecting you to a point where you're having anxiety attacks sometimes too.
Yeah.
If you're able to control those, or at least process them better in a more healthy way, do you think that time would be well worth spent? You want to say no, but you know
I do
I'm
want
right.
to say no, but I know you are right. I mean, realistically, I know what is the good road to go down.
Mm-hmm.
it's just, making myself actually, honestly, and to be perfectly honest with you, this is literally the first time that I've had this in depth of a conversation
about it.
ever.
Well,
So when I was a kid,
mm-hmm.
after dealing with CPS and dealing with Ascension Parish Police Department and everything, or I should say the Sheriff's Department, but I kind of just shut down. I was put in court-ordered therapy for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
I never said 2 words to the therapist, not 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were a young child then at that point.
Yeah, but how many children do you know who literally don't talk? Yeah, well, again, we've been through the same thing pretty much.
Right. So I know a lot of children. Again, your story is unique to you.
But not
that unique
to anybody else, right?
Yes. It's not that unique of a story because you are not the only one that has gone through similar situations. You went through your situation, which is completely unique to you. It happened to you. Mm-hmm. Nobody else that your story happened to. However, there are stories that are similar.
Oh yeah, I mean there are plenty of stories that are similar. I've dealt with them at work too.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, going from 10 to 17, dealing with this individual, and it was. I'm not going to say it got great, but when he was in rehab, things changed.
Mm-hmm.
My whole life got turned upside down because, again, my sister is 4 years younger than me. Idolized her fucking dad.
Mm-hmm.
And she fucking hated me for the very longest time.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't actually start having a good relationship until I was 22.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically lost the only person in my life. And then my mom was so fucking busy, she didn't notice. And I'm going to fucking cry.
That's okay.
And it didn't, it's like you reach a point where you don't fucking trust them because they didn't do what you felt like they should do. So he was in rehab for 6 months, and then like 2 months after he was out of rehab, he was not at home because he was staying with family. And then my mom allowed him to come back to the house. And at that point, I felt like my whole world ended and that I didn't have anybody I could trust.
Right.
So I
It's okay. It's okay. I've cried plenty of times. No, it's a hard thing to talk about, and I appreciate you talking about it because the thing is we as civil service members are not just the civil service member. We've had these life experiences that have fucked us up way prior to the job.
Oh yeah.
Right? And yet we're still deciding to do the job. So the fact that you're able and willing to share your process and your story through this is allowing and showing other civil service members, hey, it's okay to talk about it. It needs to be talked about.
Oh yeah.
It needs to be talked. We need to let people know that we're just normal people that do an abnormal job. And this part of your story, as fucking horrible as it is, as hard as it is, again, is unique to you. But it's not so unique that none of us can't start speaking up and talking about it.
Right.
And you're doing a great job. You're fighting the stigma right now. That's what you're doing. You're fighting the stigma. You're opening up. You're talking about something that you're not normally talking about. Shit, is the first time the in-depth conversation you're having with somebody about it. I apparently bring that out in people.
You're just really good friend.
Well,
so.
I try to be.
Well, you are.
Well, it's not even that. Like I've had guests on that I hardly even know that would start being like, this is the first time I'm saying this out loud. This is the first time I've talked about this. This is the first time I'm doing this. And I'm like, well, good. Well, I mean, good.
So here's the thing. We are really good friends.
Yes.
And of course you told me months ago that you wanted me on the podcast.
Yes.
I already knew that I would talk about this with you.
Okay.
I was preparing myself, or at least trying to as much as I could. Because, I mean, like, my ex-husband
Uh-huh.
doesn't even know this.
He doesn't?
No.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was literally trying to prepare myself to have this conversation months in advance. It's still fucking sucks.
It always gonna suck. It don't matter how much you think you prepare yourself.
Oh, you'd never be prepared enough.
No. Shit, I thought I was prepared to start talking about it with my therapist. I tell you what, when I did that EMDR session, oh my God. You want to talk about ugly crying, snot just dripping down on her floor, tears, and like I couldn't breathe, and
Oh, yeah.
like, oh my God. That's probably the best cry I ever freaking had.
Yeah.
Ever. And it was so beneficial to me though, because it allowed me to realize that I'm not all that unique.
Yeah.
I'm unique because it happened to me, but it's not all that unique in that
It has happened to other people.
no, in that there's a way to work through it. Even though I never, ever, ever considered the idea that I would be able to work through it. It's always been this is a thing that's going to
Let me see your vape.
this is always going to be a thing that is going to affect me for the rest of my life. Right. And I'm learning now that it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
That I can process these things now, that it's okay for me to talk about it now, because now that I'm talking about it, now that I'm sharing my story, it's weird because people hear it and they're like, well, if he's doing it, then maybe I can.
Yeah.
If these people are sharing their stories on What Makes Us Fire podcast, trying to kill the stigma about talking about the shit that's happened in their lives and the things that affect them mentally, then why can't I?
Right.
And if that is what's giving them, if that's the small little catalyst that's getting them to start that journey on getting themselves better, then I'm going to continue fucking doing it.
Yeah. Hope so.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's helped you just by coming on the podcast. Look, we're in fucking New Orleans right now.
You've helped me more so than just by coming onto the podcast. I mean, listening to you on your lives and just talking to you in general has helped me so much more than any fucking therapist ever has.
Why do you think that is?
Because I feel more comfortable talking to you.
But I'm not a professional.
Doesn't matter.
So then there is something to say about talking to somebody that can understand and not necessarily know.
Yes. Here's the thing. I don't like therapy, and for the reason why I don't like therapy is because you sit there, you have a conversation with a person, but you don't feel like they know you on a deeper level. They're looking at you at a clearly just strictly clinical thing.
I think that is I'm going to challenge your thought process on that.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's your thought process on it. Yeah. And I'm going to challenge it. So go ahead, keep going.
For me, I want to talk to somebody who actually understands what I've been going through, who I trust immensely. Because, I mean, first off, it's really hard for me to open up as is. And so for me to open up to a person, that fucking means I trust the shit out of you. And that I respect the shit out of you. And if I don't fucking know you, I don't trust you and I don't respect you. End of story. And I mean, that's just basically it. You know, I don't trust therapists. I don't respect them because I don't fucking know them.
Have you ever thought about maybe giving them a chance to not like, so a good therapist isn't going to dive right in first go around, right? My opinion.
Yeah.
A good therapist is going to be like, hey, my name's this. What's your name?
Yeah.
And they start off the conversation as like you're meeting a new friend.
Yeah.
That's what a good therapist, in my opinion, would do.
I've tried therapy twice.
Okay. I think that is not enough.
Once was court ordered. Once when I was in the military. My fucked up mentality is, therapy wasn't working. Just sleep with your therapist.
Just sleep with your therapist.
Again, I never said I wasn't fucked up in the head.
So you slept with your therapist?
I did.
Woo! Was she cute?
He.
Oh, well, okay. I mean, I don't judge.
I don't judge either.
Here's the thing. And you know me, you've heard me talk about it a million times, the 3 conversations, right? You've already had that one conversation. You know there's something going on that you need to fix.
Yeah.
You've already had the conversation with the family because they obviously know already the things that have kind of fucked you up.
Sort of.
Well, I mean,
they know.
They might not know the details, but they know.
They don't know a lot of it.
Okay.
So, like, from the time they know everything that happened to me when I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that happened after that, they don't know.
Okay. That third conversation that I always talk about, though, was professional.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why they're professionals.
Oh, yeah. A lot of school, a lot of student loans.
A lot of student loans. And a lot of these people, again, it takes work on your part.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just go to a therapist and be like, well, they should know better.
Right.
No. It's just like going to a doctor and getting a second opinion.
Yeah.
Or a third opinion. Or a fourth opinion.
Fifth, sixth.
Whatever. Well, with mental health, you got to keep going until you find something or someone you trust. You got to keep going, and you have to be willing to keep going until you find that person you trust, because they are the ones that are going to be able to convince you and show you the things that you need to do for yourself to start processing and working through the trauma. Yes. Now, there's different types of therapy. There's trauma therapy. There's regular therapy. There's, sleep. I mean, there's so many different types of therapies out there.
What's that?
Sleep therapy? Yeah, I know. But you, as the individual, have to take the time and the fortitude and the willingness to do it. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to do it for you.
No.
So if you have one bad experience with one therapist, that doesn't mean all therapists are bad. You need to just go to the next one. Just because you met one person that was an asshole doesn't mean that next person might not be your best friend.
Right.
You don't stop meeting people because one person screwed you over. Right. It's the same thing with therapy. It's the same thing with mental health medication. It's the same thing with surgeries. It's the same thing with trying to find out if you're sick or not. You always go and you keep going, but it's on you to make that choice to keep going.
Right.
Sounds to me you're allowing the few experiences to dictate your future movements instead of, you know what, no, this needs to be fixed. Do you think you can find it in yourself to be like, hey, I know this needs to be fixed. No matter how hard it is, I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep working.
That's the thing. I've never really gave up on getting me fixed. It's just being able to let go of the trust issues that I have in order to open up to anyone.
Right. But you have to also remember there's checks and balances. Hold on. I'm going to let this.
Fireman?
No, that was an ambulance.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Their sirens are different.
Yeah. You have to be willing and knowing that process is all on you.
Yeah. And it is. And I realize that I have massive trust issues that I need to get over and everything else. I know those are my issues that I have to work through. I blame nobody else but myself on those.
Right. But what you can do is that first meeting you meet with a therapist and be like, hey, I have extreme trust issues. I don't know if I'm going to be able to tell you everything right off the bat. I need to know that I can trust you.
Yeah, because
But that's you being open and honest with the person that you're talking to as well.
Right.
Which means you have to be open and honest with everyone you're talking to, not just.
But that's the thing. I am very, because I have such bad trust issues with people, I don't fucking lie about any fucking thing.
Right.
Because even the stupidest, littlest thing, to me, if you're gonna fucking lie about it, there's no point in talking about it. That's the thing about trust issues is I'm not going to fucking lie to you, and I expect you to not lie to me about any fucking thing. I don't care if it's the stupidest fucking thing in the world. I have cut people off for the stupidest fucking lies. The minute that you lie to me, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I got no room in my life for people who lie to me. Because again, trust issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be open and honest with a person. I might not fucking tell you everything that's going on in my life. My mother will tell you. She doesn't know half the shit that goes on in my life. I am not a very open person. I love her, and it's taken me a very long time for me to forgive her.
Mm-hmm.
But my personal life, completely off limits to 99.9% of the people on the planet.
Do you think that's beneficial for you?
It depends.
It should be a blanket answer, really.
It depends on how you look at it. I mean, in reality, no.
That's the answer I was looking for. Because in reality, no, you say truthful and you have to have this trust stuff and everything else, but are you really being truthful with yourself and the people that are in your life if you're not being 100% honest with yourself and them?
It's not that I'm not being honest with them. It's
you're lying by omission.
I'm not being.
You're hiding by omission.
But,
yeah, you're hiding by omission. You're
right.
not giving them you're not giving them the full you.
No. I can't say that I've honestly given anyone the full me since I was 10.
Right. So if you're wanting everybody else to give you that, but you're not even willing to give it to yourself, I'm not trying to be an asshole and call you a hypocrite here.
But you are.
But it is a little bit hypocritical, is it not?
It is a little bit hypocritical. And I will be the first person to fucking admit to it. But at the same time, it feels like that my personal life, when it comes to that, is the one thing that I can fucking control.
But it's not. It's not. It's controlling you.
In a way, yes.
Not in a way. It's controlling you.
I have no personal life outside of work. So
yeah, but really, it's controlling you.
It's not much to control.
It's controlling you. You're allowing how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself, and the things that you've been through dictate your actions with other people and how you live your life. Instead of allowing yourself to live your life the way you want to without having this thing hovering in the back of your head that you're so afraid to show. You're not being your 100% true honest self because this thing you're still fighting. And then you're not showing that true 100% self to the people in your life, even though you want them to do that for you.
But being logical.
And the only reason why I'm saying all this is because I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's a process that I'm working through right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
Yeah, because I can tell you the same fucking thing you just told me.
Yeah, exactly.
Single fucking day.
Exactly. But I'm working on it.
Yes, we both are.
So my point being is if you're truly wanting that 100% truthful honesty from everybody else, maybe you should start doing that for yourself first.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay. Yeah, because I was waiting for you to disagree with me because I was already ready with the next thing to say.
You know me too well, but on this point, I surprised you, so that's good.
You did surprise me because
usually
you're being you're being open with admitting to yourself that yes, maybe it is something that you need to work on.
I already know it's something that I need to work on.
But you're also admitting to yourself that it's being detrimental and you're not being that 100% true, honest self to the people in your life because you're not even that with yourself.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So is it fair to be asking that of other people?
Honestly, no.
It's not wrong. It's a coping mechanism.
It is.
And it's not wrong. It's just what it is.
It is what it is.
Right. So I think your relationships would actually be even stronger with the people in your life if you finally build that relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm learning how to do that now.
Mm-hmm.
And
I keep telling you that all the time.
I think though, your process would be a lot better. Not just talking to people like me. Yeah, I've done a lot of research. I've done a lot of self-growth. I've done a lot of storytelling with my story because it helps me. Even when I talk about it out loud with people and I'm sharing them with my story and how I'm processing and what I'm doing, sometimes I have those aha moments on my own by telling my story. Right. It's like, oh shit, I have been doing this. Because I'm telling the story and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this exact thing right now but I'm telling people maybe they should work on not doing
I
it.
tell Ariel all the time. You say what you really, everything that you say is really smart. And I hear what you're saying, but I feel like a lot of the times you don't hear what you're saying when it comes to your own mental health therapy.
No, of course. But that's because I'm still learning how to.
Right.
But I'm open with that. I don't disregard it.
And I mean, I do the same thing though. I can sit here and
You block it.
Yeah.
You block it. So you'll figure it out, but you don't allow yourself to adopt it.
Yes.
You're
Because
like,
we're both the do as I say and not as I do type of people.
yes, but I'm also practicing the doing as I say.
Yeah.
I am.
You
it's
are.
hard, but I'm practicing it.
Yeah, you are. And you're getting better at it every single freaking day.
I'm trying.
But you are.
Okay.
Because I see the change in you.
Okay. And but we're not talking about me right
I
now.
know. See, I'm good at deflecting.
You are good at deflecting, which again is another coping mechanism. But we're going to go back to you. The idea is that we went through your childhood.
Yeah.
We went through your process
Barely.
of becoming a police officer, right?
Uh-huh.
And obviously we went through the traumas that we've seen in the
Somewhat.
job.
We scratched the surface.
scratched the surface, right? But we get the idea.
Yeah. Somewhat.
The whole idea now is to share with our other brothers and sisters that it's okay to start that process, even if you're not too sure how that process looks, even if there's blocks put in the way that you have to work through to even start that process.
Yeah.
It's okay to start the process. And the way to start the process is what?
By
Start
opening
the
up.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Opening up, start the conversation. Who knows? Maybe after this weekend, you're going to reflect on this conversation that we had. And you're going to be like, you know what? Maybe I do need to talk to somebody. Let me call my EAP because it's free and I'll get my 6-7 sessions and let me start that process.
It's only my departments offer those.
Huh?
They don't offer those.
You don't have an EAP in your department?
Mm-mm.
Or insurance?
We have insurance.
Okay. Well, then there you go. You have an avenue. And then once What Makes Us Fire is fucking up and running 110%, then you're going to have another avenue.
Well, there's always just talking to you.
Well, there's talking to me, but I'm not a fucking therapist. I'm not a professional. I'm not going to be able to give you the tools you need for your specific situation because I do not have those tools and I am not aware and or knowledgeable enough to say, hey, you should do this. You should do that. You should try this. You should try that. The only thing I can tell you is you need to start the conversation with yourself and with a professional.
But you know what? Sometimes just talking about it just really helps.
It helps, but it's a Band-Aid.
Yeah, well, it's a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid. It doesn't take care of the actual issue. The only way to take care of the actual issue is to go get the professional help you need and learn the exact tools that are going to work for you. Because the tools that are working for me, they might work for you.
Uh-huh.
God willing, they would. But that doesn't necessarily means they will. A professional will be able to give you those things. Mm-hmm. Because they're going to have a more in-depth understanding of where you're at and how your brain's working and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to a friend helps. I call them Band-Aids because they are Band-Aids. We like to do things to get out of our heads. We'll go hunting. We'll go fishing. We'll take a vacation in New Orleans, right? Because these are
drinking on in the French Quarter.
Yeah, we'll go drinking on the French Quarter. We'll go singing. We'll go hang out with friends. But all these things are Band-Aids. Yes, we can still have happy moments. We can still have good times. We can still get out of our heads a little bit and feel normal just for that little bit. Mm-hmm. But as soon as the quote unquote trigger, once we go back to reality, when that trigger happens or whatever, if we haven't learned to process the trigger and not allow it to affect us, we didn't really do anything except put a Band-Aid on a situation that needs to be taken care of.
Band-Aid over a bullet wound.
Or an occlusive dressing. Because EMS. But I mean, that's what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna challenge you.
Okay. I like challenges.
To when you go back home, start looking into it for yourself, not for anybody else, but for yourself. Not only is it going to be helpful for yourself, but maybe it's going to stop you from having to pull over that next time you get a call. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's going to help you start repairing relationships that are obviously affecting you because it's hard for you to even talk about them. Those are all possibilities that when you start fixing yourself, it's weird because once you start focusing on yourself, and being selfish with your mental health and becoming better for yourself, it is so weird seeing how that one little thing, you're that one little thing, or at least that you're thinking you are, how it actually like butterflies and just waves, and that ripple starts touching everything else and starts fixing everything else. And you're like, well, all I did was fix me. Well, then maybe
that's because you were the center of your universe.
And maybe it's because you are the reason why sometimes bad things happen, because it's your outlook.
Oh,
it's your perception. And your perception might be a little skewed because of the things that you perceive mean a certain thing. Mm-hmm. So being open to a different way of looking at it, being open to seeing yourself in a different light will actually make things better. It's that whole thing, right? Like, what's that saying? When we're not looking for it, it seems to just fall all over us, right? But when we're looking for it, it's like it's elusive as fuck, right? So let's not worry about all the other things, because we're constantly trying to fix all these other things instead of fixing the main issue. Once you fix that main issue, all those other things that you now no longer are focusing on,
they tend to fall
into place. Exactly. Because you're taking care of the core issue. Okay. So I'm going to challenge you to go back home and start looking into it.
I'm not ready for the weekend.
Well, you said you're up for a challenge. You literally said that right before I said I had challenged you. You said I'm always up for a challenge. So therefore,
I'm still not ready for the weekend.
Therefore, challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted.
Thank you.
You know how hard that was.
Toni, I want to say thank you for sharing a lot of what you did. Yes, we did just scratch the surface. Yes, we did not get in depth on the things that happened. We did not get specific, but we don't need to, because that's your story. And that's a story you need to share with somebody that's going to be able to help you process that way better than I can, than any friend can. Okay. You need somebody that's going to be like, hey, you're in a safe space right here. Let's hash it out. Let it fucking out. Let's do this.
Do we have a gun involved?
No, Jesus Christ. No.
Don't you know that any cop safe space involves a gun?
Yes, obviously, but not in this situation. I really do appreciate you opening up and even sharing some things that you've never even talked about before. I think it's huge, because we need more people like us willing to share our stories like this, because we're not the only civil service members out there that deal with this shit.
Of course not. The thing is I found, just from personal experience and living and breathing police work, for a very fucking long time, majority of law enforcement, the reason why they got in law enforcement in the first place is because of a traumatic event that happened to them in their childhood. It is very common. So, my story may be unique to me, but again, it happens more so, unfortunately, often than not.
Because they're trying to be the change that they didn't see when they were going through what they went through.
Exactly.
So it's either they're going to bitch and complain about it their entire lives, or they're going to try to do something to change it.
Exactly.
And that's big. Because we say that in the fire department all the time. Man, they have us do this. Man, they have us do that. Well, you want it changed? Promote.
Yep.
You want to change it? Promote. If not, stop bitching about it and follow the rules.
Exactly.
Just simple as that. You want to change it, become a part of the change. Be the change. Stop bitching about it. Be the change. You want something to change, do what you need to do to see that change happen.
Right.
Because if you're not doing anything to see the change happen, all you're doing is just, you're a complainer.
Yeah.
It's all you are.
And nobody wants to hear a complainer.
Nope. You want to see something change, you got to go out there and start changing it for you.
You have to work your ass off.
Exactly. So if you want to see a change within yourself, what do you have to do?
I have to work on it.
Oh, you got to actually go and do and be that change for yourself, huh?
Yes.
Nobody else is going to do that for you.
Yes, I know, smart ass.
Yeah. I love tying it back into shit like that.
You just love doing this to me, don't you?
No, I do it to everybody though. I do it to everybody because it's rewiring how you think, because I was thinking that way and I still fall into that pattern sometimes.
The thing is I know what I need to do to change it. It's just actually
doing it.
yes.
It's taking that first step.
Yeah, that's
Well, I challenged you, and you said challenge accepted. So in a couple weeks, we're gonna be in contact way more than that. But still, in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna get specific. In a couple of weeks, I'm gonna get specific and be like, okay, where you going? What are you doing?
We'll be driving down to Houston or Galveston
In a month.
Yes.
Yeah, but you have a month to at least get 1 or 2 therapy sessions in.
Yeah.
That phase. That phase. Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that.
You don't have to look forward to it, but you have to be willing to do it.
I said I would, so I will.
Okay.
I always keep to my word if I can.
Good. Well, this one's something you can.
I can.
God dang, what the hell's happening in New Orleans?
It's New Orleans. What isn't happening?
That's right. All right. We're going to switch gears.
Okay.
Again, thank you for everything. But we're going to switch gears. We're going to go a little bit lighthearted.
Okay.
Stuff.
I like lighthearted.
Yeah. We met on social media.
Yeah.
On TikTok.
You followed me.
I did follow you first. I know.
I love rubbing that in your face.
I followed you first. I followed a lot of civil service members first. Okay.
Don't make me feel any less special.
You're Jesus. So yes, I followed you first, but I think it was, you're like, who the hell is this guy following me? And it wasn't because I don't have an actual picture. I have the logo as my profile picture. So when you see What Makes Us Fire follow, you're just like, what?
No, see, what had happened is you followed me, and then I got onto TikTok because at first I wasn't really heavily into TikTok. And then when I noticed that you had followed me, you actually were live. And then the day that I found out that you followed me is the first time that I went into your live.
Okay.
And then when I went into your live, I heard you talking and I automatically followed you back because what you were saying really hit home for me. And yeah, it's been, smooth sailing ever fucking since.
It's been pretty fucking rough, bumpy roads ever since. But
yeah, it's true. But even still, as far as building the friendship and everything is concerned,
oh yeah, building the friendship, it's happened very fucking naturally. But that happens with a lot of civil service members. You put cops, firefighters, and military all in a room. Soon
we bust each other's balls,
within 5 minutes, you're gonna have no idea that people just met each other. Exactly. You'll have no fucking clue.
We will bust your balls all day long, but at the end of the day, I've always got your fucking back. And if anybody ever fucking tried to hurt you in any kind of way, they would regret it.
Yes, absolutely. But it's just like making friends with other civil service members is just so easy for civil service members.
Yeah,
just because we all understand.
We've all got the same dark ass fucking humor.
We all understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. We all understand the job. We understand the stress. We understand the mindset. We understand. We understand.
Yeah.
But what the fuck got you to get on TikTok? Or because that's I mean, actually, everybody has Facebook, simple. Everybody has Instagram, Snapchat.
So I'd actually been on TikTok for 2 years.
Holy shit, 2 years?
Before I made a video. Yeah.
Oh, before you made a video?
Yeah.
So you just used it to look at a whole bunch of sexy dudes?
I hadn't found you yet.
Other sexy dudes.
No, actually, I got on there, watched videos to kill time during the day when I was at work and when things were slow.
What the hell is happening?
Is that a fire truck or the ambulance? That's a fire truck.
That's a fire truck. That's a cue.
There's got to be a fire somewhere.
No, I know. There's got to be something going on.
Medical?
I don't know.
Anyway, so back in February of last year, I lost my job at my original department. And I was off work for a month. And idle hands is the devil's playground, so to speak. So I got really fucking depressed really fucking quickly. And then I was like, well, hell, I got nothing to do. I'm in the process of getting hired at another department, but it takes a month before I would even know anything whether or not I was hired. So I started making videos on TikTok. And the first one I made was just literally of my German Shepherd sleeping in a damn chair. Yeah. Because again, very self-conscious about being on video or anything like that. So, I mean, it took me a minute before I even put myself in a fucking video. And it's still to this day, I'm very self-conscious about my Southern ass accent.
You do have a Southern ass accent.
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I still to this day don't really like hearing myself talk on video.
Well, that's perfectly awesome now that you're on a podcast.
Well, you know what?
Well, you're literally going to be hearing yourself and watching yourself.
You should see my face when I'm in court and I have to listen to myself on the freaking body cameras. It is ridiculous. They look on my face. I'm like, I really sound like that. But so yeah, I started doing literally the very first video I did was of my German Shepherd sleeping on the chair, and then it started going downhill from there, so to speak. I started making more and more videos, and then I met Rania and started, met her. And honestly, I don't even remember how I came upon her, but then we started talking in her live, and then we kind of connected, and she's like my fucking sister now. I'd kill for that girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met you, and, I've met so many fucking wonderful people through TikTok. And honestly, I think at that point, because I was in such a fucking low state, because again, it was the very first department I worked for full time, and then I lost my job because they literally threw me under the bus. And I was pretty fucking, I thought about eating a bullet a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was pretty bad. And TikTok kind of brought me out of it. And
you're not the first story I've heard about that. And actually, my story is very similar. Morgan Mott, who's addiction recovery advocate and mental health advocate, her videos actually helped me from drowning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Especially after my, depression and everything else. And it's crazy that when we go, like, there's something to be said about TikTok's algorithm. As shitty as they are with their community guideline procedures and all that other
don't even get me started.
As shitty as they are with all that stuff, there's something to be said about their algorithm and getting people that are like minds in contact with each other.
Right. Because literally within the first 3 months of being on TikTok and actually making videos instead of just going on there and watching videos, I met Rania, I met Jess, I met a good group like Tree and all of them. I met a good group of friends, and that I absolutely would do anything for. I love them to death. And then, roll the year through, come December, come January, I found out about House Party. Well, that's when I started getting in contact with Diddy, Courtney, and all of the, Blue Line PD. And that's when we decided, we started talking, hanging out on House Party and everything. And then eventually we start our own fucking foundation, Blue Line PD. So, who knew that me losing my job a year ago, well, actually a little over a year ago, would lead me down the rabbit hole of TikTok, of stupid ass videos, but I absolutely love them. Meeting some of the best friends that I have in the planet that I wouldn't give y'all up for anything. And then actually being not only a part of your charitable foundation, but one of my very own. Right.
One that you actually are almost like a founding.
Oh, I am actually one of 6 founding members of Blue Line PD.
Let's talk about Blue Line PD a little bit, just so we can let everybody know. So what exactly is Blue Line PD? So I had not TikTok people. I had Sir Lancelot. He's a new member of Blue Line PD.
Absolutely
he was on the podcast, and he mentioned Blue Line PD a little bit, and he was just like, let me reach out to them so we can see about working together. And I was just like, you don't have to. But but he wanted to reach out and see if we can help each other with our
I've been pushing for that, since day one.
Right. And I know Diddy and Nico are kind of like, I guess they're more like the figureheads, I would say a little bit more. Let's be honest.
Nico, they're more like the daddies.
Yeah, but
we're like the children who are like, well, let's do this, this, and this, and they're like, we need to be realist about this.
Right. So let's give them
credit where credit's due.
Credit where credit's due. They're
more the level-headed.
Level-headed. They're on live a hell of a lot more. They post a lot of freaking videos. Mm-hmm. They're out there a lot more than I would say a lot of other Blue Line PD is.
Well, not Nico in the videos part because we can't get him to make 2 videos, much less.
Right, but he'll be live with Diddy
All day long.
the fucking time.
Yes.
But they are kind of the figureheads, right? So when you guys started doing this, what was the main purpose of Blue Line PD?
Okay, so the main purpose so Diddy, Courtney, and a bunch of Blue Line PD were in another, so to speak, TikTok group, and I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to be that person. They didn't like the direction that group was going. So we're in the in-house party one day, we're having a conversation, and there were a lot of drama was happening in the other TikTok group, and they're like, let's make our own. And I'm like, okay, well, if y'all are going to do this, I want to be involved. And then basically it went from there, and we just decided what direction that we wanted our charity to go in. And we decided that, one person had brought up mental health, and I was like, well, no, because I think that what you're doing in your foundation is really great. And I didn't want to feel like that we were taken away from your foundation. So I was like, well, they bitched at me all the time because the last department I worked for, they didn't provide me with a vest. There's a lot of equipment that I wasn't able to afford that I couldn't personally buy and that the department couldn't buy because we had no budget. Because even though, we barely had a budget before, and then the budget was cut. So we started talking about it. It was like, there's a lot of departments out in the country that their budgets are being cut, and they already had zero budget as it was. And officers are literally putting their lives on the line every single day. And not just officers, but canines as well. And canines are a very vital part of, every department. So we made the decision to make our foundation about providing equipment and not money. We didn't want it to be about money because there was incidents that happened before where we're very cautious about providing money to people. We want to help people, but we want it to be on the up and up 100%.
Right.
So, and I really hate admitting this, but literally the first person that they provided a piece of equipment for was myself. They got me a ballistics vest that my department wasn't able to afford because I was at that department for a year with no ballistics vest. And every time I would be on house party at night, just trying to stay awake and doing traffic stops, and they would freak the fuck out because I'm going and getting 3-4 guns out of a car, no ballistics vest, just doing my job. And I don't have time to stop and think about the fact that I don't have a ballistics vest, because if that's the case, if I stopped and thought about the fact that I didn't have a bulletproof vest every time I did a traffic stop, I'd never get anything done.
Right.
So, they freaked the fuck out on me and blew up. And then, of course, me, again, I'm stubborn, and like you, I don't want to feel like I'm a charity. So I fought back. They said, we're getting you a ballistics vest. No, the fuck you're not. There are other people out here who need more shit than I do. I'm perfectly fine, and I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. And of course, they're a little bit more stubborn than me, and they had the money.
So y'all's charity is about helping individual police officers, not necessarily departments.
Not necessarily departments, but individual police officers. So far, our charity has, again, like I said, one officer, which is myself, provided with the ballistics vest. We've also we're able to get 2 canine officers their ballistics vests. So, and the 2 canine officers, and don't quote me on this, but I do believe they're in one of the Carolinas. I do believe it's now North Carolina, same department. And we want to help more. So, I mean, our biggest issue is there's so many scammers out there nowadays. It's really hard to tell who is authentically true and then who is just lying through their damn teeth. So we vest every single person. We vet.
You said vest, yeah.
Yeah, English is hard.
It's
Hardest ever. But we vet every single person that we reach out to
help.
Yes.
Right, as you should, especially if you people that don't know how nonprofits work. A nonprofit is actually a business. Nonprofit is a status. It is not a business model.
Right.
So a nonprofit is a business who applies for the nonprofit status through the federal government and or state government. Usually both, because you have to do both.
Right.
So when it's a business that is funded through in-kind donations and monetary donations.
Yes.
And then those donations have to be used a specific way if you want to keep that nonprofit status.
Right.
But you have to have the business model in place. You have to do everything else. And to make sure that the money is going to the right people, you have to vet them. It sucks. You wish that you can just give the money or piece of equipment or whatever it is that you're trying to do to every person that came in and asked. You really want to, but it's those shitty few.
Right. That ruined the whole batch of apples for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And what makes it even worse is like, okay, so for instance, we have members that we're bringing in slowly because we, again, we want to build the foundation really slow. I mean, we're still talking over the board and everything. And we have found that certain people who requested to come be a part of Blue Line PD are lying through their freaking teeth about what they do and everything else. So it's very hard for us to be able to build this when you have people who are trying to put themselves off as something that they're not, who are trying to join our entity. And we have to be very careful about that too. I mean, with yours, it was pretty simple because like you have Ariel and Scott, and then the rest of your board, but every single one of them.
Yes.
So you have vetted every single one of them. We know Scott works at the fire department in somewhere in nowhere, Michigan. Ariel does what she does with her lovely self in Austin, and the rest of your board. But right now, we literally have a board of 3,
which is usual.
We're still building the actual board itself, which I feel like is going to be more for the board is going to end up being the original founding members in the long run. And then we have been bringing in Lance, multiple other officers from all over the country. I mean, at one point we brought in a guy from Canada, but that just didn't work out because the way he was wanting things to go just wasn't lining up to how we wanted to run things.
Right.
So we've hit a couple of speed bumps in the road of getting this done, but at the end of the day, we've stayed true to our main mission and basically trying to just get things done.
So you guys are still baby.
Oh, very much
baby
so.
Nonprofit.
We're not even crawling yet. We are still in tummy time.
All right. So WhatMakesUsFire family, you heard it. So Blue Line PD, brand new baby nonprofit, and their mission is to help individual police officers get equipment that their departments may not be able to afford them to get. And this is equipment that is life-saving equipment, not only for themselves, but for their canines as well. And if you be on the lookout for it, because I'm sure sooner or later they're going to start doing some fundraisers and everything else to help them.
Well, actually, we're trying to, as long as Nico will get on board and do his actual freaking video, we are actually trying to do a fundraiser here soon, where we're going to pick the Blue Line PD mascot. So the way it's going to work is we have 3 mascots for people to vote from. My puppy Nico, which is literally named after the butthead Nico, German Shepherd puppy, Nico's dog Toby, and then Boost Me Up's dog Baby Boost. And basically what they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to go to our Cash App. They'll be able to put their votes in the comments, and we allow up to 5 votes, and whoever gets the most votes, of course, will win and be the mascot for Blue Line PD.
Cool. So be on the lookout.
Yes. As soon as I can get Nico to get off his butt to make the video.
God damn it, Nico.
Yeah, I know, right?
What's your problem, bro? Seriously, what's your problem?
I've been asking him the same damn thing for months now.
Well, how do you think Blue Line PD and WhatMakesUsFire can work together? Well, I have some ideas.
Oh, really?
Well,
I would be interested in hearing.
I have some ideas. Well, because like you guys are obviously WhatMakesUsFire is completely mental health forward, right?
Yes.
And since you guys are still baby, and you don't have all that paperwork yet and everything else, you guys can operate as a crowdfunding.
Yes, which is what we've been doing.
Right. So you can work as a crowdfunding for other nonprofits until you're able to crowdfund for your own nonprofit.
Right.
I think that we can do that together. We can be that for each other.
I think that, see, here's the thing. I think that WhatMakesUsFire and Blue Line PD would be great working together, because even though at the end of the day, we are out there helping officers get the equipment that they cannot afford and their departments can't afford, we are also very big advocates for the mental health for not just police, but all first responders. Because at the end of the day, I'm police, you're fire, but we're fucking side by side working the trenches together. And as much as I bust your balls about being a fireman, as much as you bust my balls about being a cop, at the end of the day, I know you always have my back.
Correct. And I know you always got ours.
Exactly.
So
because you got to have somebody to clear the same for you.
Yeah, as soon as you guys fucking get there.
I'm always there first. Look, as a gentleman, you should always come second.
Mm-hmm. If it's a race, I always win.
That should not be something to brag about.
Hey, first place is first place. I get the gold medal every time.
There should always be one exception to when you come first.
That's not true.
Oh, bullshit.
Sorry, What Makes Us Fire family. A lot of sexual innuendos going on right now.
We can't help it.
No, we can't. We can't help it. But yeah, I think that we can do that with each other. I think we can help each other out with that, especially with What Makes Us Fire being so new. We're still trying to raise the money we still got a lot of stuff to do when it comes to building the machine, building the business aspect of it.
Of course.
We're still looking for large donors. We're still looking for reoccurring donors. We're still building the website. We still have our merch line. We still have, the podcast is actually a part of the nonprofit. It is not separate.
I know, which I'm so happy for you about because, that just makes it that much better.
Well, the thing is my lawyer was like, you can keep the podcast separate. That way, anything that the podcast brings in goes directly to you. And I said, no, absolutely not. If I get a sponsor for the podcast, I want any and all monetary gains
to go to what makes this fire,
to go towards the mission, to go towards the general mission, because this is part of it.
Right.
This is part of it. This is a part about killing the stigma. This is a part of helping other civil service members realize it's okay to start talking about it. Mm-hmm. And that's what the podcast is for, is to find people that are willing to start talking about it, like yourself, like Officer Scales, like Nico, like Diddy, like TikTok Peacock, like, Sir Lancelot, like everybody that is willing to share their story and not be afraid of being themselves and being honest with themselves. And by being honest with themselves in front of possibly thousands of people, all it's going to take is that one person be like, you know what, if they can do it, I can too.
Right.
And if you can do that for one person, no matter who you are.
Butterfly effect.
Exactly. Because you never know when they start sharing and they might help somebody else. Right. And then they might help somebody else. And it's just this thing that we have to fight against. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're about. And saying all that, I think we definitely dived into a whole bunch. Where can they follow you? Where can the What Makes Us Fire family follow you? What's your tag on TikTok?
So _PD.
_PD is the nonprofit they can follow.
Yes.
Okay.
Or they can follow me at Southern Girl Leo 11.
Southern Girl Leo 11. All spelled out exactly like that. Yep. No underscores, nothing.
No underscores.
Southern Girl Leo 11 and or Blue Line _ PD. Both are, the Blue Line PD is the charitable organization.
Yes.
And Southern Girl Leo is your personal account.
Yes.
So What Makes Us Fire family, go check them out. If you like what they got, become a part of their family, become a part of her family. I'm a part of her family. She's a part of ours. And that's just the way it is. So I never tell people to go follow them blindly. Make your own decision, make your own choice. It's up to you. If you're uncomfortable or you don't have to. It's as simple as that. I'm going to start winding this down because we've actually been talking for a good, almost a little over 2 hours now.
It's easy to talk to you.
It's easy to talk in general. I think once you start talking, you finally realize how easy it is to actually talk about the things you thought were going to be so hard to talk about.
Yeah, but it helps when you trust the person that you're talking to.
It helps when you trust the person you're talking to, sure. But when you actually start talking, you start sharing things, you're like, oh shit, I didn't think I was going to talk about that. But you start doing it and you're like, that's a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it wasn't that hard. Or, wow, that was really hard, but I did it.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say it was a combination of both.
Which means you're stronger than you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're stronger than you give yourself credit for. Mm-hmm. Just saying. Anyway, you know how I end the show. Yep. I usually ask 3 questions.
Yep.
And you already know those questions.
Mm.
We are on Southern Girl Leo 11 podcast with our guest, Miss Toni, Southern Girl Leo 11. Toni, what's the one question you would ask yourself and or piece of information that you'd like to share that we didn't get on?
You know, I've been thinking about this for months, and honestly, I have no idea.
I've been thinking about this for months.
But honestly, I have no idea. Yeah, word vomit. I mean, you pretty much touched on everything that I thought you would touch on. So there really isn't anything that I can think of that you haven't that I would share, so to speak.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not that good of a host.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not.
I
Really?
listen to you every
Is there
day
something?
when I'm at work.
Is there something you would have wanted to share that maybe we didn't touch on, or like some type of advice that you would want to give that people might?
Advice I could give out the wazoo.
Okay, well, give us a piece of advice that maybe we didn't touch on.
Okay, a piece of advice that you didn't touch on, because we touched on a lot.
No funny. What's one piece of advice?
Stop standing in your way. We're our own worst enemies, and we always stand in our way when it comes to getting mental health treatment.
So you would tell yourself to stop standing in your own way?
Yes. Yeah, I know. Don't make me smack you. Remember, I choose violence.
Okay, cool. We're just gonna leave it at that. Yep. No, we're just gonna leave it. We're just gonna leave it at that. Sounds like something insane. Anyway, and the fact that you are telling yourself that, because remember, you're sharing that piece of information with yourself.
I know.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
He's tuning his own horn at this point.
The second question is very simple. Do you have any questions for me? If I can't answer it, I'm going to tell you respectfully, with all due respect. I already know what's off limits. With all due respect, fuck your question. Ask me something else. I said with all due respect.
Of course.
So, what's one question you want to ask me?
Where do you want to go from here on out? I mean, like, with foundation and everything else. What is your main goal for the next year?
For the next year? For the foundation for the next year, I want us to grow to a point to where I can actually sit down and honestly, truly 100% consider retiring early from the fire department and having the nonprofit be my number one goal. This is the only thing I would ever leave the fire department for. Only thing I would ever leave the fire department for. Yeah. If my friends and family all told me, hey, we're going to ditch you if you don't leave the fire department, I'd be like, deuces. See y'all later. I hope you guys have a good life. I'm not leaving the fire department. If this nonprofit grows to where I can go on employee status with my board and with other employees, like a United Way or Wounded Warrior Project or something like that. Yeah, we would be, yes. But if I can supplement my income to where I'm making now with a nonprofit, I would retire early so I can dedicate my life in helping my brothers and sisters not kill themselves and become a better version of themselves so they can be that better version for not only themselves, but for their families and the community they serve. Yeah. And if I can dedicate my life doing that, then I'm not really leaving the civil service. I'm just working now in a different form. Right. Can you do me one favor? What's that? Because Ariel will be happy that I said this. Tell him about the march in May. Oh, I will. We'll do that later. But yes, I do that at the end of the show. I do that at the end of the show. I'm going to edit that part out. No, I'm not going to edit that part out, but still, I'm going to do it at the end of the show. I'm going to do it at the end of the show. In my closing, I always talk about it. You know that I always have you in your best interest. Anyway, last question. Okay. You're on What Makes Us Fire podcast. A lot of the people that are listening can be, hey, we're listening to people that are telling us what it is about themselves that makes them do the job that is civil service. So when you hear fire, think civil service. And when I say civil service, think any job that is dedicating your time, effort, whatever, to doing something for civility. That is a civil service. You are serving civility. You're talking to a person who's working on it. I understand that, but this is for the audience. Read. what do you think it is that's within every one of us that are 100% completely different?
Huh?
We're all different.
Oh, I've been thinking about this answer for months too.
What do you think it is that has us choose to make that sacrifice of ourselves for others?
Drive.
Mm-hmm. Explain.
Okay. As shitty as a job is, we all have the drive to help people in the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be ourselves or the person who is broke down on the street, person whose house just burnt down, person whose house was just robbed. At the end of the day, we all just have that drive to be the person who helps everyone, because we realize that we can't help ourselves all the time. So we're trained. We want to help that person. We may not be able to save everybody, but we're going to do our damnedest to help them in every way we possibly can in that situation at that time. So that is what I think.
Okay. So, but you said, where did that drive come from? Again, that drive, yes, is part of
with each
what
person
we do.
is different.
Yes. So for each person is different, right? Because there's Catholics, Muslims, Hindus, Jews, there's gays, bis, straights, black, white, orange, Asian, green,
Native American.
There's Kunashes, there's Mexicans. I mean, you name it. The civil service realm is just as diverse as the world.
The thing
is just as diverse as the world. Hold on. And that diversity
is what makes us
is outside of the civil service. Mm-hmm. It clashes.
Yeah.
Perfect example. I don't like getting political. Perfect example right now in our nation, Republican, Democrat, right?
Don't like talk politics.
Yeah, we're not going to talk politics, but that's a perfect example, right? We have Republicans and Democrats in our civil service in the realm that we work in.
Yep.
But yet when we go to the job, that shit doesn't matter. I don't care who they supported or did not support. I'm still going to be there, have their back, and I'm going to do what I need to do for them. If I go to a call and I hear this person say something that I don't agree with politically, that does not mean I'm not going to take care of them just because I don't agree with them. But out in the civilian world, those differences are causing such clashes that they wouldn't help somebody.
Right. And okay, so I'm gonna give you personal example / opinion on a thing. One of the biggest videos on TikTok going around now about supporting cops is, if you don't like cops just for the simple fact that they're cops, next time you're in trouble, call a crackhead. I hate that.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It is stupid, because at the end of the day, it makes cops look like, well, just because you hate us, we're not going to help you. I could care less who the fuck you are. You could be fucking Obama. You could be the Pope. You could be the person who fucking loves cops. At the end of the day, my job is plain and fucking simple. My job is to help you, Joe Blow off on the fucking corner of the street, any fucking crackhead. I don't fucking care. There is not a single thing in this country that is going to stop me from helping everyone, regardless of your race, your fucking political agenda, your fucking religion. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, my job is to help everyone. I might not be able to save everyone, but I'll be damned if I don't go out of my fucking way and try to help everyone that I can.
So what it sounds like to me is that people that do this job have found a way to negate the differences of being human and break it down to the fact that we are just human.
Right. Because we've already got enough hate, and you see it every day, especially towards cops. I always used to joke and say that firemen were the redheaded stepchildren of the freaking service, civil service.
That's EMS. That's EMTs.
Yeah, that's
actually. True. Those are EMTs. Sorry, EMTs.
We still love you.
We still love you.
Keep the needles away. But in reality, the police force in general is becoming the most hated part of civil
service. Yep.
And when you have people who that's our jobs, we enforce the rules. We don't like it any more than anybody else does. And I can tell you a million times where I've had to go and enforce the laws, and I'm like, this is stupid. Why the fuck am I having to do this? Because this is unfair. Mm-hmm. Strictly unfair to this person. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, I have a job to do. And I mean, it is what it is. we're human. We don't appreciate having to tell people stuff they don't hear. We don't like having to sit there and break the hearts of hundreds of people. But at the end of the day, again, it's our job. And it's hard as fuck.
It is. It very much so is. Especially sometimes when you got to go help that person that you know is an asshole, that you know did something wrong, and yet you still have to go and help them.
Right.
Right. But it doesn't stop us from helping them.
You know, the way I've always looked at it is people make mistakes.
Yes, that's true.
I never judge a person based off of the mistakes of the past. I judge them off of the actions of the present.
I judge them based on the lessons they learned from the mistakes they made in the past, and have they and are they putting those lessons into play?
Yeah, but and that's great for people that you know.
Right. That's
but
true.
When you've met a person for 30 seconds and you're probably never going to meet them again, you can't really sit there and say, well, you know, they learned the lesson of the past. You have to base them off the actions of the present.
That sounds like something mental health wise. You cannot be affected by the things of your past. You can only change the things that are present. Wow. It's weird how that thought process works for so many other things. Again, me tooting my own horn and proving a point. Anyway, Toni, thank you so much for sitting down with me here in New Orleans. Thank you for inviting me to New Orleans.
Well, really, thank you for coming.
You know, I told you I would come, but I didn't have the money. You said, don't fucking worry about it. I got the house. Let's go. And I'm like, okay, well, sure. And now I'm here, and we got to finally sit down and record the podcast episode.
That we've been talking about for months.
And it was really good. I think that you sharing what you shared, you being open to hearing a different point of view, as much as you didn't want to hear it, because I saw your face, especially just right now. The fact that you're open to it and you're not shutting yourself off to it is already telling me that you are starting that process for yourself. Yes, you're not doing it with a professional, but you're being open to hearing the idea that maybe you do need more professional help. As much it sucks to hear that.
As much as I hate it.
Yeah, it sucks to hear it, right?
Yeah,
no, I should be able to take care of this shit myself. But
because we help so many people, why can't we help ourselves?
Because if we're helping other people and other people need help, who's to say we don't need help?
Right.
Because we're just people too. We're just
Hold
people
on,
too.
Josh.
I already know that. I've told you that. I know that, and I've told you I'm working on it. I'm more than willing to admit that. I'm more than willing to admit I've slipped. I'm more than willing to admit that I do need help. And that's why I asked for help, even though I didn't want to, remember? Right. So, but I did it.
You know what? I'd never been more proud of you.
Okay, well, thank you. We're not talking about me.
Well, we can.
No, we can't. It's my podcast, goddammit. So I do want to say thank you for being open, for listening to the point of view, challenging your thought process. It takes a lot for somebody to do that. It takes a lot for somebody to say, you know what, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to listen to this point of view. Whether I agree with it or not, I'm going to be open-minded enough to at least give it a try. Yeah. And it takes a lot for people to do that. Yeah. And challenges. Yeah. And I challenge you, and you took on the challenge.
Of course.
So, and the challenge is going to be beneficial for you.
I'm going to start doing goat yoga.
Hey, again, that's just a Band-Aid, but still, if that's going to help you, do it. The only way to actually get over those things is to work through them, not just make yourself feel good for a little bit. You want to be feeling good and or okay or calm all the time.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's what we're working towards.
You too.
I am. That's what I'm working towards. So again, thank you. What Makes Us Fire family. Southern Girl Leo 11, part of the Blue Line PD.
And What Makes Us Fire.
And What Makes Us Fire.
Because I was What Makes Us Fire first.
You were What Makes Us Fire first. That is very true. Toni, thank you so much. I fucking love you, girl.
I love you.
And it was amazing you having you on. Let's shut this down. Let's go to bourbon. And no, I mean, let's go drink responsibly for a little while. And then let's go do some karaoke. Let's go enjoy each other's company.
Yes.
Let's have some fun. Let's go put on a Band-Aid for a little bit.
Yes, please.
And then
Can it be?
and then once it's all said and done,
Band-Aid?
and then once it's all said and done, we'll rip that Band-Aid off and start working on the wounds again. Sound good?
To me.
Awesome. What Makes Us Fire family. She knows how I end the show all the time. Get out there, have fun, stay safe. Show some love and peace out in the world. You never know who's going to need it. You never know if you're going to be the one to make the difference. And being that difference feels fucking amazing.
Yep.
Be the change you want to see in the world. And do not allow the world to dictate how you want to see that change happen. Don't get walked all over. Just be better. Peace. Gotta look there. There you go.
I'm trying not to look at the camera at all.
All right, What Makes Us Fire family. That was Toni. I want to thank her again for coming on the show. I want to thank her again for opening up more than she thought she would have. The stories that she went through, the experiences that she went through, the emotion that she carries with her, it's not uncommon. It's unique to her, obviously, but it's not an uncommon situation. She started her conversation with me, and it's been a long time since she has had that conversation. And the fact that she opened up to me, the fact that she shared her story and started her conversation means that she is ready to get better for her. That is a massive step. And I hope that you, listening to her story, decide to make that step for yourself. Toni, I love you. Thank you. All right, everybody, this is that part of the show where I tell you, thank you for following What Makes Us Fire. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you guys would like to follow us on social media, you can always follow us with the tag at What Makes Us Fire on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat, and House Party, and wherever you'd like to follow What Makes Us Fire. You can also email me at whatmakesusfire@yahoo.com. Anything that you want to talk to me about, you can email me if you have a question. If you want to email the foundation directly, go to whatmakesusfire.com. There you're going to find the online store. You'll find a podcast section. You'll find an event section where you can see fundraisers that we're getting ready to have. Also, if you would like to donate to the What Makes Us Fire Foundation, there is a donate button there. The only way that this foundation and the podcast is going to grow is through support through the family like yourself. So if you find it in your heart, please click on that donation button. We're looking for reoccurring donors. And if you can't, that's okay. Share the podcast. Share the webpage. Share the social media pages. The only way that What Makes Us Fire and our mission to help our civil service members is going to happen is through the family. I've said it from the beginning. That's the only way this is going to grow. Anybody out there that finds himself in crisis right now, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 100% anonymous, free, and confidential. Call them and start the conversation. The number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, the number is 1-800-273-8255. If making that phone call just isn't for you right now, if you're not finding yourself there, which is a good thing, but you're still looking for some help, SuicidePreventionLifeline.org is a website where you will find a multitude of resources for you to learn how to start that conversation, for you to learn how to get better. I also have to say we are in no way, shape, or form sponsored or supported by the National Suicide Prevention Hotline and or SuicidePreventionLifeline.org. These are just two resources that we know work for people who are in immediate crisis. I love you guys. You're amazing. I can't thank you enough for your support. For all of you that know what's going on in my life right now, thank you. Thank you for the no judgment. Thank you for continuing to listen. And thank you for allowing me to feel like I have purpose. I've said it before and I'll say it a million times. You helped me save my life. Much love to y'all. Stay safe. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.